exclusive. Lazio against Tottenham. Gazza's comeback on Sky Sports. This is what we've been missing for the past 18 months. What a talent. The clown prince of football. He's worshipped wherever he goes. It's a Monday night football extra. Gazza's back. Lazio expects Paul Gascoigne makes his long-awaited debut tonight against his old mates at Tottenham. Love him or hate him, we've missed him. The Olympic Stadium is ready to acclaim its new hero. We've got the whole match live as part of another cracking double bill. It kicks off at 7:30. We've World Cup football to follow, a vital game in England's group. Norway, who put 10 past San Marino earlier this month, against Holland. Andy Gray and John Solarco are with us in the studio. John scored last night his first goal since recovering from the same injury that put Gazza out for the past year and a half. Welcome, Andy. John, well done.
Yeah, it's going to be a terrific night, but, you know, it's going to be the most nerve-wracking moment of his life. And, I mean, I've been there and I'm sure there'll be some nerves in there tonight.
Bound to be, I would think. The lucky man in the Olympic Stadium for us tonight, Martin Tyler.
Good evening, Richard. We've got thunder and lightning here. I guess even the elements seem to be conspiring to give Paul a dramatic return, operatic feel to it, if you like. But just to tell you how big business he is here, that this morning on the Rome sports paper, he was the headline, even though Italy are playing tonight in Switzerland. And, of course, as I'm sure you've read, Diego Maradona finally severed his connections with Napoli to go to Seville. That was a pretty big story. But Paul topped all that. And I must say, it's why we're here, and I guess it's why you're watching back at home.
He's been so carefully looked after the past 24 hours or so, Martin. I know you haven't had a chance to talk to him, but what are they saying about him?
Well, I think they're saying first and foremost, it's how he feels after he plays rather than how he plays. In the Tottenham camp, they're saying, look out if he gets through a couple of tackles. Don't worry too much about whether he plays a defence-splitting pass or curls a free kick in. Have a look at the tackles. They're also saying with the Tottenham camp that they haven't heard from him either, and that's a measure of how seriously Lazio and Paul Gascoigne are taking tonight.
Atmosphere, Martin, what's it like? Martin, the atmosphere, what's it like over there?
Well, as I say, it's changed slightly because of the storm that's just approached. Of course, they work late in Italy, and a lot of the fans will be making their way to the ground as we speak now. It's not looking around, I suppose, any more than about a quarter full at the moment. There were estimates of up to 50,000. I think maybe that's a little bit optimistic, but certainly there are going to be plenty here, and they're all going to be rooting for him. And what you said at the start, well, I love him or hate him. I can't find too many people that hate him, to be honest with you. He's a rare talent. He's obviously a cheeky character as well. We're all rooting for him and hope that he comes through. I think the message really from here is it's great to have him on the pitch. It is a match, and match practice is very important. But, of course, there are more serious matches ahead. If he plays 45 minutes, maybe an hour tonight, that in itself, however well he does in the course of the match, is going to be a great achievement.
Martin, thank you. So, Gazza's back. What an 18 months it's been for him. FA Cup glory and then disaster. The long haul for fitness, which ends tonight.
And play football at the same time.
Now then, a buzz the moment he gets the ball. Gascoigne on another of those runs. Oh, I say, world class. Allen, a fourth surely would settle it. Oh, he's having a look. Gascoigne, that'll do. 2 for Paul Gascoigne, 4 for Tottenham, who are there now, surely.
I enjoyed the FA Cup competition. Paul Allen, Gary Mabbott, the lads have been there before. Will tell me what it was like if we get there, you know, win this one. Terry Venables, Dougie Livermore, and it was all exciting, fantastic. I think it was the best time I've ever had since the World Cup.
Gates away again. Mabba, Sedgley, Gascoigne! That's it! The gamble has paid off. Paul Gascoigne brings a smile at last to the face of Terry Venables. And Gascoigne once again has risen to the occasion. And look here at how brilliantly he steered that one into the corner. You cannot legislate for sheer class.
Gascoigne strikes. Oh! Fabulous! Oh, a manager's dream. The gamble is paying off.
Well, we've seen some wonderful FA Cup goals this year, and this is right up there along with the best of them. Even a goalkeeper of the quality of David Seaman can't get near this. It's got bend, it's got power, it's got accuracy.
It's great, not just the fact that I score goals, but just the feeling after games and the feeling up the games. And then obviously all of that is well forgotten because of a tackle.
It's Charles from Glover's pass. That's got to be a free kick. And Gascoigne has not only given away the free kick here, he's damaged himself in the process.
I got injured. It's simple as that. I've been injured before and got myself out of it. I've got injured. I only played 50 minutes, but I've got my medal upstairs. That's the main thing.
Gazza's injury, severe damage to the cruciate ligaments, required complex surgery. He was lucky. It was the sort of injury that has finished many players. It's been a long, painful and often lonely path back to fitness. It was 10 weeks before he could jog, and even then it was with an obvious limp. His recovery was put back another 6 months after a nightclub incident in Newcastle. He simply couldn't keep out of trouble.
When you're playing in Italy, you'll probably be even more in the spotlight than perhaps you've been over here. Does that bother you at all?
Not really, because I think they're closing the nightclubs down. No, probably. I probably will be. But like you say, I'm changing my ways towards a lot of people, only because I just didn't like the fact that people just keep coming in and interfere in my private life. Now I realise, obviously this might have been the final straw. There's places where I can't go, and I'll enjoy the way I'm living, but just be very careful.
Gazza's biggest problem was boredom. He passed some idle hours with us here at Sky Sports, waiting impatiently for the chance to play again.
Like me, and like you, like everyone else, just can't wait to be, well, obviously, like you were saying before, you can't wait to see us playing again. And that's what I want to be doing, playing football again. That's where I got my bread and butter from. And that's where I wouldn't mind being again on a football pitch.
That's where he is tonight. Gazza's back live on Sky Sports, and delighted we are to be able to bring it to you. John Solarco and Andy Gray with us in the studio this evening. John, you know, as I said at the top, exactly what he's going through. An operation that has finished players.
Yeah, it's a big operation. The problem he's had, obviously, is smashing his kneecap. I mean, that in itself is a massive injury if it had just been done on its own, but to have the anterior cruciate injury as well, and that's why he's been out 18 months, and hopefully if he's done all his work and come through all the stages okay, we should see him back tonight.
We saw how high he was, Andy, before that FA Cup final. I would imagine there's a peg or two more for him to climb tonight, emotionally.
Yeah, John's right. I mean, I had about 6 knee operations all told, Richard, so I know what like coming back from him is. Fortunately, none as serious as John and Paul had, and it is a big night for him. He won't be bothering, I don't think, of how he plays. He'll be wanting just to play in the amount of time. What I'm looking for is his movement. I'll be looking at how he's running, his touch on the ball, how that is, whether he's carrying it at all, whether he pulls out of certain tackles, or whether he is fit enough when he should be. The Italians are a very cautious nation with their footballers. They don't pay lots of money and risk them. So that suggests to me they're happy that he'll come through tackles. But as John knows only too well, that is the big thing for him. A 50-50 will come up at some time, maybe not tonight, but sometime in the near future, and that'll be the first real big test for him.
Gazza's back live on Sky Sports tonight in the Olympic Stadium. The long-awaited debut for Lazio against his old mates Tottenham. The match kicks off at 7:30. Welcome back. A Monday night football extra this evening. 2 matches. We're in the Olympic Stadium at 7:30 for Lazio against Tottenham. Gaza's back at 10 o'clock. Norway against Holland, a World Cup qualifier from England's group. The match tonight, Gaza's dedicated to John Sheridan, the Spurs physio who's helped rebuild him. He's dedicated the match to John, and John is with Nick Collins now.
Well, John, this is Gaza's night, but it's also a very special night for you, I should think.
I think all the staff at the medical staff at Tottenham and John Browett, the surgeon, Dave Butler, myself, club doctor, it's all very special to us really because, I mean, this might never have happened a few years ago, but with medical techniques as they are and the brilliance of the surgeon, you know, Paul's out there, so it's superb.
Did you ever have any doubts that this day would eventually take place?
None at all.
You're always fairly convinced that Gaza would be back?
Yeah, I think as in a club, as a club physio, you can never have doubts. You've got to always aim for the ultimate and try to get players back. And you know, with Paul, I'd never had any doubts at all.
Will there be a lump in the throat though when he comes out tonight?
Of course, you know, but at the end of the day now, it'd be lovely to read about Paul Gascoigne, the footballer, and not Paul Gascoigne, the footballer with a knee problem. We don't want that, and you know, hopefully this is the first of many games for him, which I'm sure it will be, and we forget all about his knee, and he can just go on, lead a normal life, and have a great career.
Gather he's in pretty good form. Phone the players at the hotel.
Yes, he's in great form, and well, that's Paul, isn't it?
Have you spoken to him since you've been in Rome?
No, we're a bit superstitious, really. The first time really I wanted to speak to him was when I got here, and of course I speak to him at home quite regular. But I just want to see him run out on the pitch, and then that...
All that hard work will have been worth it?
Yeah.
Be quite an emotional night, won't it?
Yeah, it will.
John, thank you very much indeed. Thank you.
Well, I was just thinking, it all started in tears with Gaza, didn't it? And there's bound to be a few tonight. John Sheridan, very emotional, and understandably so. It's been a long haul back. We've all heard about this cruciate knee ligament. John suffered the same injury. Run us through it, John. Just exactly what is it?
I mean, well, basically, I and Paul ripped this anterior cruciate ligament in here.
Just move your finger. Let's have a look where you are.
It's the one in the middle.
There.
Yeah.
That one.
Yeah. And that is basically a ligament that you use to stop and start, which is very crucial to footballers, and which is probably the one you use the most. Now, Paul, this is your patella tendon. Paul would have had a bit of this grafted to replace that in there. And that's basically his operation, but he's had it complicated with, he smashed his kneecap right down the middle, which is causing all the problems, I think, because I think it basically, his operation was quite straightforward, like mine would have been quite straightforward, but his kneecaps added extra problems to it, which is what I think he's having problems with his flexion, getting full range of movement, and then stretching his quads and everything, so it's all sort of having problems.
He must have, like you, wondered at different times whether it was all up. You must have had those thoughts yourself.
Well, I mean, it was very different. I mean, I was flown straight out to America and had, you know, what I thought was absolutely fantastic surgery. I mean, the surgeon gave me great confidence, and they, you know, replaced it with the anterior, with the Achilles tendon. And I've just had a totally different rehab process to Paul. I mean, I can remember talking to him at a charity dinner in London, and just after he smashed his kneecap, and he was saying how frustrating he was because he was on the verge of fitness from the initial injury, and then he smashed his kneecap, and that really got to him, and you could see he was the frustration, the impatience. He wanted to be out there, he couldn't believe it, and I can't believe what he's feeling now after 18 months, similar to Paul Lake, who was out 2 years and then was out again. So I was only out 10 months. I'm lucky. I mean, 10 months is nothing compared to like 18 months.
I mean, briefly, Andy, footballers hate injuries, don't they?
They do, and if you're out for 18 months, 2 years, it's unbelievable feeling. I mean, John's right. He made an exceptionally quick recovery for that type of injury, and that's rare. That's rare. I mean, it's usually 18 months, 2 years, as we've seen with the Paul Lake.
But funny, that's standard in America. Really? 9 months is standard. That's the standard
for this injury.
Recovery time, which gives you plenty of time for the whole rehabilitation process there, and that's it. Well,
it's been 18 months since Paul Gascoigne played his last game of football. He's back tonight, and isn't it good to have him back?
Let's dance in style, let's dance for a while. Heaven couldn't wait, we're only watching the skies, hoping for the best but expecting the worst. Are you gonna drop the bomb or not? Let us die young or let us live forever. We don't have the power but we never say never. Sitting in a sandpit, life is a short trip. The music's for the sad man. Can you imagine when this race is won? Turn our golden faces into the sun. Praising our leaders, we're getting in tune. The music's played by the madman. Forever young, I want to be forever young. Do you really want to live forever? Forever, forever, forever young. I want to be forever young. Do you really want to live forever? Forever young. Some are like water, some are like the heat. Some are a melody and some are the beat. Sooner or later they all will be gone. Why don't they stay young? It's so hard to get old without a loss. I don't want to perish like a fleeting horse. Youth's like diamonds in the sun, and diamonds are forever. So many adventures couldn't happen today. So many songs we forgot to play. So many dreams swinging out of the blue. But let them come true. Forever young, I want to be forever young. Do you really want to live forever? Forever, forever, forever young. I want to be forever young. Do you really want to live forever? Forever, forever, forever young. I want to be forever young. Do you really want to live
Gaza is back. Even I'm nervous now. It's raining in Lazio, where Paul Gascoigne plays his first match in 18 months tonight against Tottenham. It's live here on Sky Sports. Don't you dare go away. Welcome back. A Monday Night Football Extra here on Sky Sports. We've got Paul Gascoigne's comeback match, Lazio against Tottenham, from the Olympic Stadium in Rome, live. Match kicks off at 7:30. Andy Gray and John Solarco with us in the studios. John, just watching that little 3-minute item the other side of the break, it sort of said everything about Paul Gascoigne, didn't it? Yeah, it captured everything about him. That is it. He's the clown, he's the genius. You know, football's missed him. You know, we need people like him. You know, you had people like George Best, and they don't come along very often, and I think someone like Paul Gascoigne is very special, and hopefully we'll see him for longer. I mean, what should we expect realistically, Andy? It's just great to see him back, point one, isn't it?
Yes, it is. I mean, playing-wise, it's difficult to gauge what we're about to see, and I don't think anyone is, as I said earlier, too bothered about the type of performance Paul gives. Everyone in football hopes, and certainly English football hopes, that Paul comes through it, looks fairly fit, looks fairly happy with his knee, and looks confident that his knee will stand up. And if we get an OK from all of those points tonight, then I think everyone in certainly British football will be absolutely delighted, because John's right, there are too few characters like Paul Gascoigne. That's what makes him special in this day and age. There aren't enough of them. This isn't the end of the battle really for Paul, is it? It's almost the start. No, it's a very tricky situation. I would probably like to see Paul play in a different situation instead of the bright lights, you know, because I think his first game, it's the first game. I think he's going to be so nervous. I think all he wants to do is just play and get out there and knock the ball and get a few tackles and get in the box and maybe score. But I think he wants to be away from the bright light. You know, everyone's scrutinising everything he does. There's going to be people saying he didn't perform well. So I just hope, you know, he doesn't go over the top, just understands what he should be expecting from himself, and which is just getting through
say half an hour, half a game.
I think we'll have to assume, Richard, that he has played in 1 or 2, I would imagine, practice matches at his training ground. I'm sure that they've organised 1 or 2, and I would imagine that they've put him through pretty rigorous training exercises. But it's not often that your comeback match, John's right, is filled with such expectation. If Martin's right, and there's going to be upwards of 40,000 supporters there, and every one of them is looking at Paul Gascoigne.
The one thing that struck me, that's the scene in Rome right now. They've got the rain that we had last night, look. The one thing that struck me this morning from everything that he's said is he was just so much looking forward to the day, waking up and knowing that he was going to play and not just train. And there's a huge difference there, isn't there?
Yeah, I mean, that's what every footballer wants to do, is you live for your match day, the adrenaline, the old butterflies, getting ready for the match. You look forward to who you're playing against, you know, what you're going to do, you know, pulling on the shirt and going out there, hearing the roar of the crowd. That's what it's all about, going out there, you know, competing and enjoying the game, enjoying playing football. And that's what he'll be looking forward to. But as I realised, you really can't expect too much of yourself. He might want to do too many things. He's got to take, you know, just take his time. He's not going to be the Paul Gascoigne we knew from when he got injured. He's going to take him another 6 months probably to get back to where he was, and that's the most important thing.
You think so, do you?
Yeah, he's going to have to be patient. I think, you know, with all the problems he's had 16 months out. He's just got to be patient now and just take his time. Don't rush into tackles. Don't try and do too much to start with.
I actually think that is his biggest battle, Richard. Anyone, and there are very few. I mean, it's great. We talk about the injury, and it's fabulous to see John. I've just said to him when we were off camera there that it's great to see him playing exceptionally well after such a horrendous injury, because players that have that type of injury have great difficulty in getting themselves back to the level they were at before. Now, there weren't many, if any, better players in Britain than Paul Gascoigne. So he was the best player probably in Britain, the most gifted. Now he's got to be as good as he was, get back that mantle, and that's an awful hard task.
What about these weather conditions tonight? Pouring with rain, slippery surface.
I don't think they help him.
I don't think they'll be ideal for him. I think what he would have liked is a nice dry surface, nice grassy pitch, you know, and, you know, just knocking around football, nice easy style.
There he is, Paul Gascoigne, and they've given the number 10 jersey, look, which is the ultimate compliment in Italian football. The top man takes the number 10 jersey, Andy, don't they?
They do that. It's great to see him. He's skipping out there, brilliant. I mean, the first little glimpse of him is very promising. I mean, look, super.
The teams, some familiar names there.
Yeah. Some good players as well.
Speaks for itself, this really, doesn't it?
They'll be nervous, you know, as well, Richard. You know that his teammates.
We know all
about, but they'll be nervous as well. They'll have had Paul in their company for so long that they'll want to. I love it. But they'll want him to do well.
We'll get the confirmation from our match commentator in a moment of all this, Martin Tyler. But this is wonderful, just to see Paul Gascoigne stripped, ready for action, back on a football pitch. And it's live tonight here on Sky Sports, and we're absolutely delighted to be able to bring it to you. Tottenham, the opposition, of course, the club that he left in order to join Lazio. You get a buzz seeing him there, John?
Yeah, it's lovely to see him back out there. You know, he'll be feeling great. There'll be plenty of butterflies in his stomach, though. I think he'd just be wanting to get his first touch and get the whistle blown. This is probably the worst time of a match, you know, 5 minutes before the start. You know, just getting yourself warmed up, anticipation. Once that whistle goes, I'm sure he'll be fine.
And if we're pleased, they will be in Lazio, won't they? In Rome, at Lazio. Let's get it right. OK, let's go over and join our match commentator. It's Martin Tyler.
Thank you, Richard. An extraordinary evening here, including the weather. The rain coming down in steroids, as you can see. Stormy, but he's back. The charisma of Paul Gascoigne and the curiosity and the concern about his condition. 16 months, almost 500 days since his right knee collapsed in the FA Cup final. Tonight, and a second match between these two clubs at White Hart Lane. They're calling it the Cup of the Capitals. Tottenham all in yellow. The pitch certainly has changed in texture since Spurs came down and had a look at it earlier today. And at the first real stoppage in play, we'll just have a look at the teams. Lazio, we can tell you that they've made a late change to their goalkeeper, which will be Paolo Di Sano. They do not have Aaron Winter here tonight, who's playing with the Dutch national team. The two Germans are playing, though, Karl-Heinz Riedler and Thomas Doll, who was signed when Paul Gascoigne was ruled out, of course, a year ago. Doll came in and did very well last season. And just on the number situation, you might remember, of course, that Gazza wore number 8 for Spurs. Well, Doll says the number 8 here is his, and that is why Paul is wearing number 10, because Doll won't give him the number 8. He says he's going to hang on to it, and you can't blame him. He's done a lot for the club. As for Tottenham, well, enormous individual contributions of Gascoigne and Gary Lineker. Now they're building their future around a crop of very talented youngsters. The average age of tonight's team, just 21. And 18-year-old Nick Barmby wearing number 8. It's his senior debut, an outstanding schoolboy player, coveted by all the big clubs in the country then. He chose Tottenham, and what a place to start your senior career. He's caught offside here. Gascoigne not unique in his suffering from injury, of course, but certainly unique in his character and exceptional in his quality of play, with the capacity for the unexpected on and off the pitch. It's Barmby with a good try. And Spurs actually have been pretty wound up for this game by Doug Livermore and Ray Clements. They've been told by no means is it a training exercise, and in a way, as Barmby hit the real first strike of the game, and one that Gascoigne would have been proud of, they've been told to treat it as England versus Italy, if you like. And there he gets the header out as the push was spotted by a local referee here, Paolo Fabbricatore. With 3 minutes gone in the Olympic Stadium, such an opulent setting. Free kick to Lazio, who have drawn their 3 league games so far. They play here against Genoa on Sunday, in what will be their second home game of the season. And of course, there's just a, well, it can only be a technical chance, I suppose. But there are men from the media prepared to hang around on Sunday to wait just to see if Gascoigne can put on a display tonight that might put him in contention for Sunday. It would be asking a huge amount. A slightly simpler task for Ian Walker, one of 4 members of the last England under-21 squad who are playing for Spurs tonight. And Laurie McMenemy is here, of course, representing the England setup. Ray Clements, Dave Butler on the right as we look, who's played such a major part in the medical attention to Gascoigne. Here's Anderton. Essentially. And again. Might come here for Anderton. Skloza being pushed back by Ian Hendon, who's been brought into midfield to harry and scrap and get Tottenham a foothold in that particular area. He's relatively fresh given the number of senior games that Spurs have played recently. Of course, some of these players involved on Monday night in the Coca-Cola Cup tie against Brentford at White Hart Lane. And on Sky Sports, we'll see Tottenham again on Sunday. Super Sunday, Sheffield Wednesday v Spurs at Hillsborough. And in the end, the set piece from Andy Turner's corner, causing a problem order for Lazio. Doll helped out by Gascoigne. Now what can he come up with here? Well, he very nearly made a goal, and the crowd responding to it. The header from Stropper. Well, that looked authentic enough, as Justin Edinburgh slid into the tackle on Thomas Doll. Gascoigne had appreciated that the ball might run loose, and he was first to it. Another touch from him. He wants the ball again, but Skloza, in fact, plays it wide to Stropper. Gascoigne again. And there's an offside now as Spurs, the type of game perhaps that Lazio won't be used to too often in the Italian league. Dino Zoff, who is the man who will have the final say as to when Gascoigne plays in the Italian league. Great goalkeeper in his time, of course, 112 appearances for Italy, the World Cup winning captain 10 years ago. But it's hard to come to this stadium without thinking of the World Cup, of course, the last final played here. A match that Gascoigne wouldn't have played in had England got through. And I suppose those tears shed then, if any one moment made Paul Gascoigne, won him so much sympathy, made him really the household name. It was a very painful moment for him. Not the most painful in his life. That came at Wembley the following year. Here's Sedgley. Barnby pushing up with Sheringham. Anderton holding here on the right-hand side. Getting support from David Tuttle, the right-back tonight. Tuttle, another of the promising young players. Tottenham have them in abundance. It's a different feel at the club now. Not really renowned for bringing them through the ranks. More players bought for big money like Gascoigne, whose pass there was superb and cut out rather more easily than Lazio would have liked by Ian Walker, with Neri looking for Riedler in the middle. Karl-Heinz Riedler, who got the German goal at Wembley, of course, when England lost the last meeting between the two countries, from a pass, if memory serves me right, from Thomas Doll, who's also on view tonight. Here's Fuser. Allowed to go a long way. Neri. Hendon got to it. Spurs have brought a party of 20 players here, most of whom I think you'll see in the fray. Possibly not Paul Allen, who was ruled out of the starting lineup after training this morning. Darren Anderton, who by his own admission has found it just a little bit difficult to settle for life in the Premier League. Scored for the England under-21 side, of course, and Laurie McMenemy, as well as looking at Gascoigne, will be able to also put the evening to further use by looking at the Tottenham talent as well. Nine minutes gone. We'll call this the first leg of the Capital Cup for a formal title. Gazza's comeback. That's really what it's all about, and there have been good signs already on a pitch that's got plenty of yield to it now. Here's Riedler. Doll inside. Gascoigne charging through the middle. Doll on the ball. Gascoigne just holding in case he runs offside. Really can't tell you how long he hopes to play. He's not sure himself, but obviously the reading of the situation is that it's match practice that's required. The risk, apart from any possible threat to the surgery that's taken place, is of course a compensatory injury. He's had a spot of thigh trouble as he looks after that right knee. He badly wants to be a player and not just an appendage to the Lazio roster. Here's Doll. Problems for Tottenham here. Yes! Oh, yes! 10 minutes! The number 10, Gazza. A glorious start. You couldn't have written a better script. Surrounded by the photographers. Thomas Doll made decisive break in behind Tottenham. Riedler made his run a little early. Gascoigne coming from behind. Oh, glorious. And let me stress, there's absolutely no connivance from Tottenham on this evening. They haven't come here to get a chasing. They've come here to try and play a competitive match in difficult circumstances, the circus that's gone on around it. Lazio 1, Tottenham Hotspur 0, Paul Gascoigne the scorer. Fuser not able to use his goalkeeper. Well, from the moment Gascoigne arrived here, his capacity to have a relationship with the public transcended any linguistic barriers. And that's why they've come out tonight. Remember, as I said earlier, Italy are playing in Switzerland a warm-up game for their World Cup campaign against the club side from Zurich. But that is live on Italian television. That's a distraction. But those who want to see Lazio lifted from a club of mid-table stature, which is what they've been in truth since they returned to Serie A, the equivalent of the Premier League here, in 1988. There's great passion for the club, but there hasn't been too much great play on the pitch. And Gascoigne they see as a route to elevation in that respect. And nothing they've seen tonight will do anything but enhance those beliefs. It's a great responsibility. Here he is again. Doll. Put on by Carino. Just as Doll and Riedler were furthest forward for Lazio then. Sheringham, who's the other number 10 on the pitch. Andy Turner, only 17, but already he's made a mark at home with that goal against Everton. And with Desano, who is the reserve goalkeeper here, having a problem with Lusardi. Gascoigne says, I'll have the ball. Well, of course, Tottenham aren't going to go in trying to mow him down, but they won't want to be put to the sword by their former teammate. And although there will be a huge amount of satisfaction around all connected with White Hart Lane, if this is a successful evening, and certainly it's had the most successful start, there are mixed feelings about the match from the Tottenham point of view. Beautifully found by Doll. Is Gascoigne. He in turn to Giovanni Stroppa, who had a couple of seasons with Milan. Neri, just in Edinburgh, wearing number 3 for Tottenham. 4 is Sklozar, who's captaining Lazio tonight. Doll. Breaks for Barmby. It has, of course, the Spurs number 8 shirt, which carries some memories. Darren Anderton's come through the middle. Sheringham peeling off. And still with a chance of getting to the ball. Here's Fuser. Now Stroppa. Riedler. Gascoigne trying to arrive in the centre again. On that occasion, he was finding it hard to keep up with the pace from the surging run from Riedler. But you can forget the fat boy image. Dino Zoff and his training staff have got Paul in splendid shape. But only matches produce the fine-tuning that football fitness requires. And this type of match, well, it's a step up the ladder. It's not the top of the ladder by any means, but it is a significant step. Sedgley. 15 minutes gone. And if the crowd are on the quiet side, That always changes when Gascoigne gets possession. Here he is. And caught out by Ian Hendon. Well, in a way, that's something that's happened before as well. He backed his capacity for skill in every area of the pitch. And he's cost a goal I can remember prior to the World Cup in Tunisia when he was caught out and robbed. And Hendon was on him in a flash then, and it was at least a sight of goal for Spurs. Well, he looks as though he means business. It's closer. Here's Fuser, who's having to play a little deeper than he usually would for Lazio tonight. Apart from losing Aaron Winter playing for Holland against Norway, or certainly in the Holland squad for that game. There are two of the Lazio first-team defenders involved in an Italy under-21 get-together, which is taking priority over this particular fixture from the Lazio point of view. Corino and Sklosa. Neri. Lazio played in Sardinia on Sunday, where they drew 1-1, but got some stick for it. And Dino Zoff's very sensitive to that, because Juventus also struggled to get a draw away to Genoa and got praise for David Platt's equaliser late in the game. Well, I wonder what's going through David Butler's mind. All those hours spent at the training ground, working with Paul Gascoigne, and John Sheridan, of course, playing a major part as well. In Italy, they asked players who they're dedicating matches to, and of course Gazza was asked that yesterday, and he reeled off a list of doctors and physios, and it's quite clear that he knows where the credit for his recovery lies, if we can use that word fully yet. That's the sort of jump that Riedler has used so impressively in club football and international football as well. 10 goals for Germany in 26 appearances, and although he's not the tallest striker, and I was talking to Neil Ruddock about playing against him today, Spurs well briefed about his spring and how he might be a handful for them.
Come out!
This is Anderton. Gordon Jury not here. Pat van den Hauwe, Vinnie Samways, Naeem. They're on the Tottenham injury list, along with Andy Gray and Dean Austin. But they've got a lot of players at White Hart Lane these days on the professional staff, and the younger ones are going to get a chance. Well, just to show that we are here. And in the dry, I'm pleased to say, I'm very pleased to be on hand to bring you a goal for Gascoigne, which is what we've had, with coming up to 20 minutes played, and couldn't quite find the angle then for the player coming in from the right-hand side, who has been nary throughout. Here's Andy Turner taking on Corino. Came behind Sheringham. It was a burst in keeping with Turner's style of play, if you haven't seen too much of him. Well, Spurs certainly not intending to mark Gascoigne man for man. He'll have that to deal with when he gets into the Lazio side. Doll! Thomas Doll didn't play in Sardinia because he had a touch of food poisoning. It was some fish that he ate, usually very good in those parts. I just wonder whether that gesture was to the touchline to say he might have tweaked a muscle there, as he really tried to take on Ian Walker and use the skim on the pitch to give Lazio another goal.
Hendon stopped in his tracks. Gascoigne, who scored at the end where the ground has the greater population of supporters. Anderton. Well, that's a stray one from Hendon. All seems okay at the moment. Certainly okay. Till Sedgley, who's playing for Spurs at the moment in the Premier League as an anchor midfield man. Sheringham. Barmby ahead of him. Anderton giving Teddy Sheringham an option to the right. Barmby and Sheringham now joining forces in the centre. Anderson's cross doesn't reach them. Here's Fuser. Stropper. Gascoigne, well, that was a challenge. They had a look at Sedgley. It wasn't Gascoigne himself, it was Thomas Doll who was acting as Gaz's minder then. Here's Anderton. Tuttle came on at half-time against Manchester United at White Hart Lane when Austin was injured. I must say, gave a good account of himself against Ryan Giggs. That's a lovely ball from Stropper. Here's Doll. Riedler trying to get free in the middle. Spurs have got plenty of players back. And the linesman flagging for offside. Spurs have the ball in any case. And now they have a throw. But this is not meant as a criticism, but on that occasion, Gascoigne, who I'm sure you're watching maybe even more than the match itself, was not prepared to make the sort of forward run that when fully fit he might have been able to do. He was holding around the halfway line. All the talk of the Mars bars he's munched in the past, I think might have got out of proportion when you analyse the amount of work that Gascoigne put into matches. He was prepared to work from one penalty area to the other and maybe even into it on regular occasions. And a lot of the running with the ball, which of course is much more demanding than different types of players who might cover the same distance, but waiting for others to provide the pass for them. But let's not be eulogising too much. There's plenty to be pleased with from the Gascoigne point of view. Ian Walker, who's played 5 times for the England under-21 side, only 26 league games. They've got great hopes for him at Tottenham, and we're better to learn his trade with Ray Clements as his guide. And of course, if he needs any extra help, his father Mike, former professional goalkeeper and now the manager of the very successful Norwich City. Edinburgh. Sedgley. Now Hendon. And the idea was to try and play Turner in then, but he had to check. In fact, he was offside in any case. You're watching live Lazio against Tottenham Hotspur. Lazio 1, Tottenham Hotspur 0. And if you've missed a goal, well, guess the scorer. If you're none the wiser, he's about to take this throw. Here's close-up. Corino, and it's misjudged by Jason Cundy, and Riedler reacted very sharply behind him. Both clubs here very concerned about putting out the best side available to them, given
injuries, all of which I can tell you are genuine, and lack of availability through such as international call-ups. It's a strong Lazio starting lineup. And Spurs prepared to come out here, add to the education of their young players, and try to, well, if they can, win the game. Corino might not be a Lazio player for much longer. Transfer talk in the papers today. Gascoigne. Again. Doll. Riedler allowed to turn. And actually the ball ricocheting across the Tottenham back line. Anderton showing the sort of skill that brought him to prominence with Portsmouth. Nice link up with Barmby. Darren Anderton playing away from the pressures of being an immediate star for the White Hart Lane fans who have been brought up on a very healthy diet of the great names of the past and aren't always as tolerant with the younger ones as perhaps they might be. It was more like what Spurs hoped to get consistently from Anderton. Sedgley, Sheringham, lovely play. Steve Sedgley here. And Di Sarno came out after Tottenham really adorned the match with some fine approach play of their own, with Sheringham and Sedgley at the end of it. And it could easily have been 1-1 as Sedgley got into the clear and Paolo Di Sarno spread himself at the crucial moment. Hendon clears. 18 minutes to go to half-time, and well, Spurs came very close indeed. Credit to the goalkeeper for coming off his line and making it difficult for Sedgley to see a route to goal. Not a renowned goal scorer, but with one to his name already this season. That late equaliser at home to Crystal Palace. Stropper for Gascoigne. Was a tackle that he survived, and the local director here paying tribute to Di Sarno before getting back to the man of the moment in terms of the close-ups that you saw. Barmby. Here's Sedgley. Lazio playing an offside trap of their own, making Sedgley hang on to the ball. Spurs probe away. There's no offside here, although that must have been close. The Italians, masters at playing on the break. Doll. Out by Anderton. I think if there's one thing that you can criticise the Italian league for, is the greed of the clubs and the system that's on offer at the moment, where foreigners are attracted here by the prospect of fame and fortune, particularly fortune, but only 3 can play, and others are being put out of the game because of that, and therefore the opportunity to play elsewhere in other European countries is taken from them. And that's the shot from Fuser. That's not a surprise, that's one of his strong suits. Diego Fuser, who was with Milan last season, and if you remember that amazing game in Foggia, the final game of the championship season, when Milan won 8-2, the 8th goal of the last kick of the match, as it turned out, came from Diego Fuser. It wasn't the last seconds of the match because the fans ran on at that point and it was called off with 3 or 4 minutes to go. "15 minutes to go to half-time. Lazio 1, Tottenham Hotspur 0. And that might change here with Andy Turner. Oh, and it nearly sneaked in at the near post. Anderton got to the middle and Di Sarno finally claimed it. And Spurs having more of a say at the moment. And Lazio, well, you can talk about lack of concentration perhaps, but Spurs will take heart from the penetration that they found in their moves over the last couple of minutes. But Doll put on another little clever exhibition down the left. And Hendon puts the ball out of play. And Spurs have collected an injury here. We look again at Darren Anderton nearly collecting an equaliser. But the problem for Tottenham, given that these matches are coming thick and fast to them, and the last thing they want is a player of the substance of Neil Ruddock to come off with what is clearly damage rather than just a substitution. After 31 minutes, Terry Fenwick has come on. David Tuttle has gone to play in the centre of the defence. Fenwick's gone to right back, so the shape of the team not too drastically reorganised because of that. But John Sheridan has a more immediate medical problem to deal with, and he is steering Neil Ruddock, which is a very long walk, incidentally, from the edge of the pitch down the track, down into tunnels, a labyrinth of corridors, before he'll finally get to somewhere where maybe some ice can be applied or some strapping can be put on. Gascoigne. He hasn't wasted too much. Doll. Here's Neri. Riedler and Gascoigne in the middle. And Stropper as well. And they'll stay there because it's a corner. Corner to be taken by Stropper. Well, Riedler jumped for it, and I must say I did think that there was a second touch as well. It's going to be a corner. But from this near side now, all these pictures that you're seeing up on the wonderful screens at either end of the stadium, so the supporters in the ground can see the replays and appreciate everything who's relevant. Well, a short corner designed to try and wrong foot Jason Cundy. Thomas Doll was in the European Championship squad, of course, with Germany, although he didn't play as much as he felt he should. And went on record as saying that possibly that was down to the fact that he came from East Germany originally. It was a contentious remark suggesting prejudice, and I'm only reporting what he made public. Gascoigne holding them off. Well, let's get a comment from Andy Gray. Andy, I'm sorry you're not out here with me, but what have you made of the opening 34 minutes so far?
Well, it's obviously a night all about the man in the picture, isn't it? And I've been absolutely amazed, Martin. First of all, his physical condition looks absolutely wonderful. As slim a Paul Gascoigne as I've seen for quite some time. His movement looks very, very good. His appetite for the game is quite amazing. I thought there may be a chance that he just would get himself through the game. But every time you look at him, he's pulling for the ball. He wants the ball. He wants to get on it. And I think it's, I mean, if you're an English supporter or the England team manager, then you're drooling at the moment, because I think he's way ahead of the stage I thought he would be at. And I think he's doing everything and more that would have been asked of him or thought of him in his first game back.
Andy, thank you very much. Yes, it's so far so good, and we've had 35 minutes. The goal as well. It's, as I say, you might think it's scripted. I can tell you that it's not, that Tottenham have come here with no willingness to do more than give the moral support. It's still a cameraman's dream. But as far as the match is concerned, he's one of the opposition. But they're looking forward, before they fly back tonight, to perhaps raising a glass with him down in the dressing rooms. Paul is also supported here by his family tonight. Disano will have to kick, and he doesn't do it at all well. Sheringham getting underneath it. Now Sedgley has had a chance, and it's a free kick against Sklozar, in the sort of area where the Tottenham team a couple of years ago would have asked Gascoigne to step up and take it. As it is, it's going to be Sheringham, perhaps to assess the possibilities. It's certainly the type of condition where you would fancy having a shot, and goalkeepers would worry about any zip on the ball if it bounces off this sodden turf. General problems of controlling anything that's hit within their reach. Fenwick leaves it, and it was steered through by Sheringham. Hendon's cross is a wicked one too, and that's a corner to Tottenham, who have been more than just pawns in the game so far. Just to remind you again, the match here and the second leg at White Hart Lane, conditions of the original transfer. And well claimed by Disano, ahead of Sheringham. Not the best of kicks from the goalkeeper. Fusa. Played across by Dole to Corino. Stropper. Spurs only get it as far away as Fusa. There's a lot of players forward in this Lazio attack, which has been kept at bay by the Tottenham organisation. Kept at bay so far. They've switched the point of it to Gascoigne. It was Kandi who came out to dispossess him. Tuttle and Fenwick trying to organise the movement for offside, and they've done it successfully. Certainly Fenwick, looking along the line from right back, has much more experience of bringing the back four out than David Tuttle, who was playing there. But I can tell you that the Lazio supporters have been longing for this match almost as much as Paul himself. And it is a remarkable turnout here. Remember, the stadium holds 85,000, so no wonder there are a few gaps. Anderton. Ooh, and I'm not sure that Darren Anderton... What actually happened was that Ian Hendon was in an offside position, went out of play. Dinazov having to make the same sort of assessment, really, that I'm sure all of you are making. But the difference is that he will then make a decision about the future of Gascoigne as a player in the Italian league. And the difficulty for him is that if he doesn't choose to involve him soon, what sort of football will Gazza get? No reserve team league here. They do play a lot of training matches against opposition from amateur clubs, local sides, just to get the pattern of play right, but it does nothing really for lifting the level that Paul will have to face in the real competition itself. Even some speculation that if he can't break into the team, that there might be a loan deal. Of course, when you talk about that, and this is pure gossip here, I must stress nothing more than that, but it has been talked about that Tottenham might get him back for a period. Dole, but if he continues to develop like we've seen here tonight, Lazio won't be letting him go anywhere. Put behind by Fenwick. One of a pair of internationals amongst the Spurs substitute tonight. The other, of course, Gary Mabbott. who has a comeback of his own to consider, and it wouldn't surprise me at all if you see him for the second half, which is under 5 minutes away. Barmby. Oof. Well, it was a stray header that Schlosser now assesses as to why he didn't hit the target. For him by Sedgley. Anderton's taken up a position in the centre. Barmby just deeper than him. Andy Turner hemmed in against the touchline. Well, we would have settled for a lot less than we've seen over this first half of Paul Gascoigne's first match since the 1991 FA Cup final. Game he was so fired up for, but in the end emotion got the better of him. The reckless nature of the tackle on Gary Charles that put him not just out of that great occasion, all the subsequent possibilities for him. Look at Spurs go here. Pisano knocks it out. Now who's going to drive this back? It's Turner. It came to him on his weaker foot, but Spurs again putting together some pleasurable football. Dom. 3 ahead of Gascoigne, square of him, Schlosser. Here's Neri. That's a corner. Spurs wondering quite how Maurizio Neri was allowed to get that far advanced and then cut in before the challenge. Well, there wasn't a challenge in the end, it was the cross that was cut out. Sadi, the long-haired central defender, has come up. Essentially hit the ball against him. And ricochet there could have widened the Lazio lead. Off goes Barmby. Reno moving out with him. Barmby's cross was one that almost got to where Anderton had made tracks into the centre. Sedgley. Gascoigne, maybe his last run of the first half, but what a run! Look at this! And he still managed to get his shot in. The crowd wondering whether there might be an infringement, but really praying that he could go all the way. Well, turn the clock back. That's what he's doing. But the injury he suffered, such a savage one, and the recurrence of it as well as the recovery looked to be underway. But that, look, the real McCoy. Are they telling him to go easy with it? I don't know. And Spurs straining every sinew to stop it. David Tuttle, in the end, wouldn't give him an angle for a shot, at least unchallenged. But he still had the strength to hold Tuttle off, and on his left foot as he was falling away. Well, Walker made the save. Otherwise, I think we'd be showing you that over and over and over again. We don't know whether Gascoigne will play the second half, but I think it's fair to say that after this show, he will want to. And it was Tuttle. He really had all the advantages of youth, freshness, no injuries, but still came off second best
to stop the shot. And he was the player hurt at the end of it, while Gaza picked himself up and got on with what is required now. Won't be too much before the referee brings the first half to an end. Gascoigne, there's no doubt that on the ball, the gifts will be there. As they say, when you have it, you never lose it, when you're that blessed. But to play at this level, you have to be fit as well. That's where the questions are being asked. Usali's header. Well, I think it's fair to say you understand why we've come here, because for all the hype and all the feel of circus that always surrounds Paul Gascoigne, the talent is a jewel in the modern game, and it's a talent that we cannot do without. It's a talent that we've all been praying has survived the events of the last 16 months. And from what we've seen, he quite rightly comes off to a standing ovation. And the bonus of that goal after 10 minutes, just 10 minutes of the comeback, to give us all a thrill, but no more so the scorer, and even the opposition pleased for him. There's some lovely shots there. So at half-time in the Olympic Stadium, Gaza is back is the message. Lazio 1, Tottenham 0.
Isn't he just wonderful, isn't it? Paul Gascoigne on the mark after just 10 minutes in the Olympic Stadium. Live here tonight, Gaza's come back on Sky Sports. Delighted to be able to bring it to you. We are. How about that? More from our guests here in a moment or so. Welcome back. Paul Gascoigne is back on our Monday Night Football Extra. Lazio 1, Tottenham 0 at half-time. Still to come after 10 o'clock tonight, Norway against Holland, World Cup qualifier from England's group. Andy Gray, John Solarco, what do you make of that?
Unbelievable. I'm really impressed. I'm sure everyone at home must be impressed with what they've seen. He's done everything right, all he needed to do. He's got on the ball, passed it. I mean, to score a goal after 10 minutes, I think, set everything alight for him. He must be over the moon with his performance so far.
Here comes the goal. Let's have a look at it again. Just 10 minutes played when Paul Gascoigne, who'd obviously read the script, provided this for us.
You see him, Richard, there he is, just below the referee there. So he's got plenty to do to get in there. But it just shows his keenness to do well. And to be fair, it's a great spot. Great spot. And, of course, we shouldn't have expected any less from the man, should we, on his comeback? 10 minutes, number 10, 10 minutes into the game, and off he goes.
One thing he hasn't lost is the art of celebration.
Great celebration. I think that's the easy part, celebrating. He's done well. He's put all the weight on his right foot there, slotted it with his left foot.
It was the right knee, wasn't it?
Yeah, he's put a lot of pressure on his right knee there. If you watch it in slow motion as he comes over, puts all the pressure there. But he's looked brilliant. I mean, I can't see anything wrong with him at all. He's running well. I think the only problem he's probably got is just a lack of fitness, and his pace probably over the first 5-10 yards let him down. There's a couple of times he's been on the ball, and he hasn't got away from his man, but then when he went through at the end there to get his shot, when the defender was pulling him back, he did brilliant. Same old Gaza. It's good to see.
I just hope that the Lazio, Dino's off, etc., are that impressed that they say, well, listen, hold on, we've seen enough. Come off, son. I'm just hoping, like us, they want to see a little bit more of them.
Yes, we do, don't we? Paul Gascoigne is back on our Monday Night Football Extra. Cracking double bill as well. Lazio against Tottenham, and still to come a little later in the programme, Norway against Holland, a World Cup qualifier from England's group. But all eyes at the moment on this man. Next, Gaza. Welcome back. A Monday Night Football Extra here on Sky Sport. Lazio against Spurs we're concentrating on. Paul Gascoigne has scored. Let's hear from him. Before the match this was recorded, he's with Nick Collins.
Well, Paul, this must be a very special day for you.
I have many special days, but this is a big day for me. Not because it's Tottenham or Roma, it's because I haven't played in 17 months. I'm really looking forward to the match. I'm going to take everything easy at the start. That's unless Tottenham start kicking us about. But I will just enjoy the game. You know, I've spoken to Tottenham before, and you know they're happy, you know, to be playing here, which is good for me. You know, the lads seem good enthusiasm, and I just hope that they don't take it like a friendly, because I have to prove to this off that I'm good enough to play on Sunday. So I hope they take the game very serious and they give everything they can just for me.
I've got to say, you look very fit.
Yeah, I feel really good. I feel really good. Didn't eat the deal. I was too nervous and that to eat. It's incredible for me because normally I go out and enjoy myself. But tonight I'm going to go out there and enjoy myself, and I hope everyone back home enjoys the match, and hopefully see them soon.
Quick word on Italy, enjoying the driving and learning the language?
Driving, I'm not too keen, but the language, I'm doing all right on it.
Brilliant. Gazzo, enjoy the game. Thank you very much.
If you've just joined us, where have you been? 1-0 Lazio against Tottenham. Paul Gascoigne scored after 10 minutes. He's setting his expectations high. Wants to play Sunday?
Yeah, he's very confident. I think, you know, that shows the character of the man. I think he's worked really hard. Obviously, he knows where he's at in his own fitness and his own training, and that's what we can't judge. We read a lot of things in the press, but here we're seeing it for ourselves, and we're seeing the rewards he's getting for all his hard work. You know, he's obviously put his work in, done his homework, he's worked with his fitness trainers.
And isn't he fit? This was a run towards the end of the first half, Andy.
Brilliant.
This is a good test for him, isn't it, this run? Because he said to go one way, then he said to go the other way, he's getting tugged back, all those sort of things. They take effect on your joint, and you see even there he's followed through with his right leg and he's caught the back of the Tottenham players, and they just said, take it easy, pal, we don't want you injured again. I mean, they're showing great concern, his teammates, aren't they?
Well, it's just his natural enthusiasm coming out there. He wants to get on goal, he wants to run with the ball.
This is good though, John, isn't it? I mean, because he's going one way, he's had to shrug off one there on his right side, Richard. You know, and then he goes the other way, there he goes. And then he's back that way again. I mean, all those sort of sideways movements are a big test on that knee. And it's his right side that's being tackled here as well as it ends up.
I mean, footballers have the most complex range of movements for their knees. I mean, you look at all the twist and turn his knee's got to do there, and that's all, you know, what he needs, you know, and that's why
live.
He needs his match.
Sorry to interrupt, John. This is live. We're back in the second half, and Paul Gascoigne, that was Gaza, in case you didn't recognise him. Paul that's great. Paul Gascoigne is out, happy to say, for the second half. Let's go back and rejoin Martin Tyler.
Yes, we're all delighted about that, Richard. And as I say, no one more than Paul himself. The fact that he didn't eat anything today does say a great deal about how nervous he was. But much of that nervousness will have gone. He played more than a full part in the opening 45 minutes. And Tottenham have made a number of changes. Jeffrey Minton, number 14, is on. And we'll bring you right up to date with those. Gary Mabbott, I can see, wearing number 12 in the centre of the defence with Stuart Nethercott, a new name to you, I'm sure, a 21-year-old central defender. Here's Minton, who scored on his First Division debut, as it was at the end of last season, against Everton. And also on, a player who emulated that feat, there's Minton, Kevin Watson, who scored on Monday night against Brentford in the Coca-Cola Cup on his senior debut as well. He's number 15. Free kick to Spurs, who trail by a goal to nil. Ian Hendon will take it. Sheringham is still on. And Fenwick coming in, provider of goals in the past at set plays. Man who takes each match as it comes, whether it's here in the Olympic Stadium or whether he's playing for Tottenham reserves, as he's had to do recently. A good solid citizen for Terry Venables at other clubs prior to Spurs as well, of course. So Mabbott, who's had a couple of operations, knee problem, a bone removed from his shoulder, and damaged wrist as well. Has been very much under the care of the same medical men who put Paul Gascoigne, or helped put Paul Gascoigne back together again, physically and mentally. John Sheridan and Dave Butler. Gary Mabbott hasn't lost his sense of humour. When we were at the airport with the Tottenham team yesterday, he said, "Oh, it's good of you to come and cover my comeback game." Well, we're very pleased to see him out there as well. Who I think, as it turned out, would have probably gone to Sweden in the England squad had he been fit. And with his capacity to play in a number of positions, might have been a useful alternative for Graham Taylor to use. Played his part in Poznan in the crucial European Championship qualifier final match last November. He was in the team as recently as the spring in Czechoslovakia. Barmby. Here's Fennick. The rain has not relented, but it's not spoiling the evening. Gascoigne with the interception. Neri having a difficult ball to deal with. Wouldn't be a great surprise if this finished 1-1, only because Lazio are the draw specialists of Italy. As I say, they've drawn all their 3 league games so far this season, and have drawn half of the matches since they returned to the top division in 1988. It's an extraordinary ratio. Doll is offside. Roberto Clavero, who helped Torino to the UEFA Cup final last season, and Dino Zoff lured him here to play as the sweeper. Rosardi tight on Sheringham. Doll. Here's Neri. Gascoigne, who said as he went down the tunnel he hoped to get another goal for us. Well, if a chance was going to materialise, then it would have been for Doll from Stropper's attempted through pass. Well, I think we all know that that's Dave Butler and not Doug Livermore. But really, it is the medical men who deserve their place in the limelight here. They're part of the story. Stropper, the player brought down. I think even in his previous pomp, this might be a little far out for Gascoigne. Maybe not when you think back to the Wembley in the FA Cup semi-final. Anyway, he's not taking it. That's Riedler. Doll, Riedler. Oh, and that's a feature of the Italian game. The predominant wish at times to look for a penalty rather than drive on and look for the goal that might have materialised in any case for Doll. But he chose to fall. And referees here are very vigilant in that respect and not averse to booking players for cheating. That's Nethercott's tackle. Riedler. There was a bit of a tug by Hendon on Doll's shirt first of all, before the more theatrical fall. Offside. Just over 5 minutes gone in the second half, and it's still Lazio 1, Tottenham Hotspur 0. Gascoigne the scorer after 10 minutes. Over Lusardi, Crevero is covering. Lusardi. Touched back by Riedler. Now Neri, who saw a lot of the ball in the opening stages of the game. Taking on Edinburgh. Oh, and Walker almost seemed to pick that up a little bit late. The ball passing fractionally over his head before he snared it in. But the handling was good. Just Sheringham to aim for. Lazio suggesting they might make a change when Gascoigne feels that enough is enough, or when Dino Zoff rather makes that decision. With his willingness to play a full game, I'm sure Gascoigne will stay out there as long as he is allowed. Nick Barmby, who I think first came to prominence when he played for the England under-15 side at Wembley, got a couple of goals against Belgium. recently represented the under-21s in Burgos in Spain. In that 1-0 win in September, when the goal was scored by Darren Anderton. Neri, starting from deep. Gascoigne took that effortlessly on the half-turn. Linking up with Doll, and not too much Tottenham could do about this until Nethercott anticipated it well and found Sheringham. Here's Anderton, away from Stropper's slide. Anderton again. The cross too close to Di Sano. Game spread at the moment. Fuser. A good tackle by Watson. Comes from Hackney, as does Jeffrey Minton. Scored with a header on Monday, and he couldn't remember his previous headed goal at any level. Again, Lazio looking to get a ball across the face of Ian Walker's goal, with Riedler coming in. Tottenham have kept the supply away from him to a large extent. Minton. Here's Corino. Now Sclosa. Lazio won the Italian Championship only once, in 1974. Roma, the other club which plays here, of course, have only won it twice, so the capital not brimming with success. It is a corner. Well, they hailed Gascoigne as a hero without seeing him play in the flesh, and their opinion can only be heightened by their viewing tonight. Stropper to take the corner. Tried the short one before, and it hasn't worked on any occasion as yet. Tripped by Stropper on Barmby. Comes from Hull. Minton. I'm sure the viewers at White Hart Lane, the guest suites there, will be particularly interested, as well as monitoring Gascoigne's progress, as how this crop of young players do in demanding circumstances here, in front of a big crowd, on a very big stage, and against some very good players, like Thomas Doll. Faced by Fenwick. Doll gets it in, Edinburgh making sure that Riedler couldn't get to that one, nor Fuser either. Here's Gascoigne. Neri. Fuser. Hendon. Getting the better of Gaza. It's back with Luzardi, who played in Barcelona in an Italian Olympic team that was highly fancied to get amongst the medals. Knocked out in the quarter-final by Spain. There was a suggestion in the Italian press, which is somewhat mischievous, that the Italian players enjoyed themselves rather too much staying in the Olympic Village. Well, there's no offside here, and Walker pushes out. It is from Doll, and the goal followed in by Stropper, and it's 2-0.
Thomas Doll in the clear. Walker did very well to stop the ball going over him, but Giovanni Stroppa from almost on the line. And a second for Lazio, coming in the 13th minute of the second half. And Gascoigne, having scored the first, releasing Doll to help create the second for Giovanni Stroppa. Well, it does get better and better for Paul Gascoigne, and with every passing minute, he's exceeding expectations in another sense. Skill we expected, strength we weren't sure about, stamina also a question. Here's Minton. It's a good try, and Tottenham will do their best not to be brushed aside by any Lazio acceleration in the second half. Watson getting to the goal kick. Here's Minton. And again. Doll. First touch, brilliant. To lay it off to Gascoigne, who again showing that upper body strength that makes him so difficult to dispossess, even by players who can make up the ground to get into a challenging position. Free kick already taken. Gascoigne-like precision from the defender. Touchback from Barnby to Edinburgh, and Minton involved as well. Half an hour to go. Fennick. It's Watson to Anderton. Watson again. Hendon calling for the ball and getting it. Trying to work something here with Sheringham, and, well, Lazio shut the door in Ian Hendon's face rather easily then. Just to remind you again that Tottenham are in action on Sunday, our Sky Sports Super Sunday at Sheffield Wednesday. Doll. Neri. Now closer. Gascoigne with that appreciation that I don't really think you can teach. It's a natural gift. The coaches can get it used in the right areas of the pitch. So there's going to be two changes now for Lazio. They're going to change the goalkeeper, and they're going to take off Riedler for the number 17, who has a glamorous name for a glamorous evening, Madonna. This is Armando of that ilk. And the double change taking place in the 17th minute of the second half. Fernando Orsi. It's hard for goalkeepers to get game time in Italy, except the first choice, of course. Neither that you've seen tonight are for Lazio. Here's Madonna. Busy night, of course, for football, including international fixtures, and a very meaningful one from England's point of view. Norway against Holland in England's World Cup qualifying group, and you will see that after tonight's live coverage here from the Olympic Stadium. And I strongly urge you to stay on and take in the entire double bill. In need of minor repairs.
Gascoigne looking as fit as a flame. Here's Closer. Did well against Barnby. Madonna. Now Doll, who I suppose, and he's been very involved in the game, hasn't he? Just making sure that Dino Zoff knows that if there is a foreign place to be lost to accommodate Gascoigne, and one hopes now that it'll be sooner rather than later, that it's not going to be Doll's. He's shown an understanding with Gascoigne. They're close to each other here. But with Neri playing more through the middle now, it didn't quite come off after that delightful interchange between the two foreigners. Here's Minton. So many of these Tottenham young players couldn't have dreamt of being on this particular stage, but they're certainly not overawed, and they are not being outclassed. And they will maintain the momentum of their play if they can, right to the last. As I say, it could easily have been an exhibition, this. It is more than that. It's obviously not totally competitive with points at stake, but it's good enough to give us the barometer for Paul Gascoigne, and the barometer suggests that there's sunshine ahead. It's a lovely ball by Luzardi. Gascoigne furthest forward for Lazio. The pass came from Stropper. And Gascoigne has now played 65 minutes. Lazio 2, Tottenham Hotspur 0. And if you've just switched on, Gascoigne himself with the first after 10 minutes. And then the architect with the help of Doll for the second for Stropper. A little lax in getting the ball away, but now they've got 4 against 3. Gascoigne on the ball, plenty of movement around him. Well played, Nethercott. And it was the type of challenge that the young centre-back, who I'm seeing for the first time, as you are, he was on loan to both Maidstone and Barnet last season. There he is. The applause going round the stadium. 66 minutes is where Dino Zoff has decided on the cut-off point. It's been a marvellous return. A hint of weariness in the step as he makes for the touchline. Gazza, welcome back. And long may it continue, and may it get better and better for you. Not too much said by the coach. I think he might have given him a problem. There'll be a call to include him, as I say, sooner rather than later. Rigucci, who will play, I'm sure, on Sunday here against Genoa. He's the first choice stopper. And a pretty tough character. I think Teddy Sheringham, although he might not realise it, is lucky that he's not playing. One of the hardest men in Italy. He had a little word there that I think Paul will have understood. He's picking up the language well enough, which is also perhaps defying those who have tried to decry the move here. I have detected in my meetings with him, and I had a good chat with him in Santander when he went out with the England squad recently, a growing maturity. And there's nothing like adversity to make you grow up a bit, and certainly Paul Gascoigne's had plenty of that over the last 16 months. Brought out by Madonna, the player who's come on in number 16, Bacci. This is Fusser. And Ian Walker kicks long. Lazio waiting to make another change. defender Bergodi waiting to enter the fray. Will bring in a player who I think, perhaps more than any of us broadcasting tonight, knows what Gascoigne's been through. John Salako, who's our studio guest. We'll get a word from John in just a moment. When the ball next goes out of play. Spurs trying to keep it in play and make some progress here through Ian Hendon. Here's Neri. Good defending by Nethercott once more. Anderton. Minton. Well, it must have been something of a distraction for Tottenham. As I say, they'll have done their best to try and just treat the opposing number 10 as they would any member of any opposition at any time. I don't think it kind of been quite like that. But there have been no deliberate favours given. Free kick to Lazio. John Salako back in the studio. Your verdict on Paul Gascoigne's 66 minutes here?
Yeah, it's an absolutely dream return for him. I mean, he's done everything asked of him. You know, he showed confidence. I mean, towards the end, he was just growing in stature, wanting the ball, you know, getting in position. He's winning it all the time, getting in the box, looking to even score a second goal. And the biggest compliment I could probably pay him was that if I'd have been watching without knowing what was going on, I wouldn't have known he'd been out for 17 months. And full credit to, you know, to the hard work he's put in. And, you know, I'm sure Dino's off now. He's got a headache for Sunday.
Yes, I'm sure his instincts are not to play him, and you would think that would be the right thing to do. But as you say, there'll be a clamour now from the media, and I'm sure from the supporters as well. So there will be a certain amount of shuffling of resources in the latter stages. Tottenham have still got one or two more at their disposal if required. Soldar has come on for Lazio. Bergodi. Thomas Doll is still there. Here's close up. Will be a corner. Just over 20 minutes to go. Roberto Soldar, who's been around a long time now, numbers Juventus amongst his previous clubs. Madonna's corner, and that was Lusardi. Tottenham would expect to defend well at set plays, part of the strength of the overall control of the club of Terry Venables, who's not averse, as we've mentioned earlier this season, to discarding the pinstripe suit of the chief executive for the tracksuit of the training ground. Stropper after Ian Walker's poor goal kick. Here's Watson. Fennick. There's no room for Sheringham. Who's there with the throw? Lazio in the past are a club with a certain amount of notoriety. Ask Arsenal and Ipswich, who've had stormy matches against them in European competition. There's a cause célèbre involving Arsenal and a brawl between players from both sides at an after-match dinner. Spilled over into the street. Two scores from the field of play were settled in, well, relative privacy. The story came out, of course. Ipswich were kicked to pieces in a game here. Lazio were banned after that from European competition for a year, which actually kept them out of the only opportunity they've ever had to play in the European Champions Cup. Following that season they were champions, and the year's ban took effect the next season, and they weren't allowed to play amongst the elite of Europe. So they really were hit hard. Offside against Doll. Well, there is a game going on, but you would hardly know it as to where the cameras are focusing. The
renowned spectator, is sitting on the Lazio bench, having had, really, you have to say, a monumental return. And I hope your enjoyment of that hasn't been helped by one or two little technical problems we've had getting the pictures out of Rome to you tonight. Hendon with a back pass that crossed the halfway line to reach Ian Walker. Madonna's header down. Ball infield by Bacci, who has been a regular in the Lazio lineup this season. They've only made one change in the 3 games, in fact, and that was because of Dole's food poisoning in Sardinia. He ate at the same table as Roberto Clavero, who was also ill, but was well enough to participate in the match in Cagliari. Ground where, of course, Paul Gascoigne played for England in the World Cup. It's Bergotti, the number 14. Foul by Sklosa. Well, he wants to stay and watch, that's typical of him, rather than let the muscles that must be tired rest in the showers. Dole, and we're glad he's still out there for you to see for the remainder of the evening. Dole again. Tottenham trying to push out. Minton, and it deflects through off Bergotti. Just over 15 minutes to go. And if the main reason for being here has gone off the pitch, just take a look at some of these Tottenham young players, because I think you're going to hear more of them. You certainly know about Darren Anderton. Promising burst from him. Orsi making the save. Tottenham had a couple of chances after Gascoigne had given Lazio the lead before half-time, most notably for Steve Sedgley, who was one of the players withdrawn at half-time, with Sunday's match at Hillsborough very much in mind. Solda. Fuser, who's very right-footed, but cut in and shoot from the left-hand side. Stropper, who does shoot! Walker certainly had to commit himself to the dive. Fuser and Stropper, who tried to make the grade with Milan, certainly made the first team. And Giovanni Stropper, who hits the ball here, actually scored in a game as revered as the World Championship, World Club Championship final in Tokyo. It's another change for Tottenham. And number 13, the Andy Gray lookalike, is Paul Mahorn, another teenager. And again, it's a senior baptism for him, and he's going to have just under 15 minutes. Comes from Whipps Cross, just out there on the North Circular, on the Essex side. And John Hendry has also come on for Spurs as well. Well, I'm sure you'll agree that the Paul Gascoigne comeback, around which there has been a great deal of ballyhoo, has been worth all the interest shown in it and more. Well, I can tell you that Norway versus Holland is also very much worth staying up for. And that's the second part of our double header here. There's the less than camera shy Gaza gives us a sort of cheeky smile that's been part of his repertoire. His personality, I suppose, at times has got him into trouble, but it's the reason the cameras are trained on him and not on the match. And those photographers are still trying to get the definitive Gascoigne shot. From a football point of view, they've had plenty of opportunity when he was out there playing. Here's John Hendry, the Scot, A rare Scot in a contingent of Englishmen out here. Who's had a number of opportunities in the first team. Scored 3 goals at league level. 12 minutes left. Spurs very grateful of the opportunity to give Mabbutt some game time here, but he's got to oust either Ruddock or Cundy, of course, but with Ruddock picking up the injury in the first half, maybe Mabbutt will be required to play against Sheffield Wednesday on Sunday. Hardly have a more reliable stand-in. Always the option of Tuttle, who's done well in his opportunities, and Terry Fenwick as well. Stropper. For Doll, looking for Neri. Didn't quite get it right that time. Mahorn, and if Spurs are 1 short in the middle, it's because of a foul off the ball on Midton that's left him checking out the damage there, the number 14. Bergodi to Madonna. The linesman flagging, quite rightly so. Well, another indication that this is a match somewhere between exhibition status and total competition, but it's serious enough. Dave Butler, with his eyes on the players that he's responsible for now, physically, the Spurs players, after the distractions of wondering whether Gascoigne would go into a collision here that might have us all wincing and wondering. But everything physically that was thrown at him, he's come through well. Donna covering for Lazio. Here's Fenwick. Tottenham trying to make a dent in the scoreline here and give themselves a better chance of having an overall win when the second leg comes round. They hope for a corner, they've only got a goal kick. Luca Luzardi turned himself into a prospect with his work for Brescia, who got promoted last season, attracted the attention of Lazio. Hendon. Real international night for you here on Sky Sports. Lazio against Tottenham, Norway against Holland coming up. Match of great significance to England in the World Cup. Madonna. So another weary slip there by Hendon. Here's Stropper, the scorer of the second goal. And offside against Madonna. Lazio are the older of the two great clubs here. They have the longer tradition. They'd love to recapture the mood of 1974 when they were driven to their only league title by the goals of Giorgio Chinaglia, who actually began his career in Wales. Then became a superstar in Italy and also in the United States in the days of the NASL and the New York Cosmos. There's room here for Spurs. Edinburgh's cross. Horn going for it. Mistake by Orsi. And Spurs have a corner. Maybe the chance to pick up a goal here. Just 2 wins in the Premier League this season. But there's certainly a discernible spirit at the club. Mabbutt coming forward. Played well against Manchester United on Saturday, a match I was at. Oh, but Stropper is allowed to go on here. Thomas Doll He's going to get a third here, is he? No. Well played, Walker. There was a suspicion of offside about the first pass and the second. But the linesman was well placed on both occasions, better placed than we are here. And he allowed Lazio to go on. And Walker wasn't waiting for any whistle. He got on with the job of preventing Spurs going 3 behind. Madonna, mistake by Hendry. Here's Doll. And Struffer, with Walker out at his feet again. Nice turn by Watson. What a week he's had. Goal against Brentford on his debut, a chance to play in the Olympic Stadium in Rome. The Olympics here back in 1960. And then the stadium brought bang up to date for the World Cup. European Cup finals here, of course. Liverpool remember this ground with great affection. Ray Clements is a Liverpool player in the 77 success. And then Roma beaten here on their own patch in 84. The final of the penalty shootout and the antics of Bruce Grobbelaar. Here's Dom. Strucker the switch to the right and now moving through the centre. Doll goes deeper. Spurs try and organise their defending. A little wearily now. Edinburgh, who's had spells in the side, of course, played in the cup final against Nottingham Forest, in and out last season, and this time on his side. It's a question now for Doug Livermore and Ray Clements to get the blend right with the senior players. Young players to use, it's always difficult. Talking on the same lines about Chelsea on Super Sunday and Manchester City. That's the goalkeeper's ball, despite the chasing by Mahorn. By the distance, you would think it was Andy Gray out there. He's one of the players who didn't make the trip, along with Gordon Dury and Vinnie Samways, Pat van den Hauwe. Hasn't played yet this season. Been most impressed with the commitment shown by Doll in this game. Obstruction given against Mabbott. Madonna. Tempo of the game has been maintained. There may not be a great prize at stake, but in a professional sense, Spurs have stuck at it gallantly. On a night where obviously they couldn't field what would be their absolute first choice lineup. Always a risk that they might be really put to the sword. Dropper. 3 minutes on the clock. Bacci. It's closer going to the left of Neri. And an opportunity for number 3 here for Stropper. And in the end, they played it very well indeed. And Neri, who'd been in the build-up, came in at the kill. Maurizio Neri. And it's been a great night for Gascoigne, but a pretty good night collectively for Lazio as well. Stropper to Neri, it's 3, as Tottenham tire in the later stages. Both Stropper and Neri playing for places. Not quite the pressure on them as there is on Gascoigne, because after all they are Italian. And the restrictions on them are only down to form and the manager's choice, no nationality problems. But they've done their cause plenty of good with a goal apiece. Lazio have shown that they can score here. Well, Minton, it very nearly ran through for Tottenham to get one. I was going to say Lazio have shown that they can score without Gascoigne on the pitch. And they've maintained their momentum and their mobility. But here's Watson hoping to catch the goalkeeper coming off his line. And look at that, well, goalkeepers now so unaccustomed to using their hands. Well, the cheerleader is on his feet as well, but the purely football note then, the type of save from Orsi when he could have just caught the ball. You do wonder what goes through goalkeepers' minds these days when they have difficulties. Mabbott's had a testing time since he's been on. Here's Fennick, a minute left. Close up. Brought out by Bacci. Neri. Doll. And Lazio may not be satisfied with just the 3. Madonna. Stroppa. Here's Watson. Very composed in the centre of the pitch. Minton. And Hendry is onside. Minton making tracks into the middle. Anderton coming in from the far side. It's just ahead of Minton. It'll reach Anderton. Minton repositioning. And back off the chest so the goalkeeper can pick it up. Doll. Closer for Stroppa, for Madonna. Oh, and it could easily have been 4. And Neri would have claimed the credit for it. It's amazing how he knows that the red light is on in the camera and that they've turned to him and not to Maurizio Neri. I suppose when you're a star, life's like that every step of the way. And that's what he's got, star quality. Especially when he's out there playing. And it's been, as we've stressed all along, a joy to see. And I'm sure you've shared that emotion. But he's still a star on the bench. He's still taking some of the limelight away from those who played pretty well around him on a night when the result is relatively immaterial. Certainly been an evening to relish for Lazio and their supporters. Minton. Hendry. Watson squeezed out by Anderton. And Hendry coming in. Oh, if he'd made it and met the ball, might have finished 3-1. The chance for John Hendry for one of those one-touch finishes that Gary Lineker specialised in. The final whistle. Paul Gascoigne's great night has seen him play for 66 minutes and score the first goal for Lazio. And Gary Mabbott across straight away to pay his respects. Ian Hendon as well. Gascoigne helping Lazio to their second early in the second half, which was scored by Stroppa after Walker had saved from Doll. And then Stroppa paving the way for Neri to get a third. More work to do for Gascoigne, of course, but his physical shape is outstanding. His football skill is there in abundance. And you could say, well, was there a major challenge on the knee? It's hard to tell. The commitment in every aspect of the game was pretty apparent, and there was no sign of him pulling out of anything. It has been a pleasure to see him perform again. on a stage where he's been a king and where all of Britain want him back again at his very best. An amazing evening in the Olympic Stadium, but it didn't disappoint. Gascoigne goes off to share the emotion of this evening with the spectators who've waited such a long time to see him launch his career in Italy. He's got the appeal of the Pied Piper. Progress and proof towards real belief that there will be a full recovery. There were certainly doubts about that before tonight's game. And everyone who loves to be entertained by football will wish him all the very best. He's milking the moment here, quite rightly too. And I'm sure you'll want us to stay with him until he finally disappears from view. As our Italian colleagues here revert back to the cheeky shot on the bench. And our man Nick Collins wanting to get a word with him. I'm not too sure whether we'll be able to bring this to you live. And all I can say is Paul speaks to Nick now that we'll be bringing you those words just as soon as it's possible, very shortly, I can tell you. But it's been a great night here for Paul Gascoigne, a pretty good one for Lazio. They've beaten Tottenham by 3-0.
Martin Tyler, thank you very much indeed. We promised to bring you sport like that, the best, here on Sky Sports, where and whenever we can, and that was a real treat to be part of Paul Gascoigne's comeback tonight. Andy Gray, John Solarco, fabulous.
Yeah, tremendous comeback for him. You know, I think everyone in the country is so pleased to see him back and so fit, raring to go. He hasn't lost any of his enthusiasm or his madness, so...
I don't think he's matured either, has he?
No, that was interesting, wasn't it? Martin saying that he'd noticed a sense of maturity about him, but the madcap Paul is still there.
He scored after just 10 minutes. If you haven't seen the goal yet, here it comes. A few times, why not? Let's enjoy this. There he is, Andy, just at the edge of the centre circle.
Yeah, I mean, he's showing a willingness here, isn't he, to get in the box. He's got to move, what, 30 or 40 yards, moving very, very well. I mean, it's a great spot by his teammate, and I mean, he couldn't have wished for a better start, could he?
It's a good run just to hold his, check his run a little bit, not to be too impetuous and get in there too quick. And the ball's pulled back, great finish. That's a jump as well.
It was a good jump.
How must he have felt?
Relieved, I would say. He's probably as happy there, hitting that goal, and I mean this, he's probably as happy there hitting that goal in a friendly, his first game back, as he was, and hitting that magnificent free kick against Arsenal in the semi-final of the FA Cup before he had his injury. That's how much it would have meant to him.
Definitely, for us, 18 months he would have been thinking about that. He'd have dreamt it all over and over, thinking about hitting the back of the net in a game like this. And to do it after 10 minutes, you know, would have been tremendous for him. You know, it took all the pressure off him. You could see him grow in stature. You know, if he hadn't have scored and things hadn't gone so well for him, you know, things might have gone slightly wrong for him. But, you know, great night for him.
You've been there, you've suffered the same injury. You scored in your comeback match.
Thanks. Yeah, I did. I managed to score the winner out in South Africa. But that was, again, that was a big occasion. I was just pleased to come through it, you know, didn't try too much, too hard. But the important thing was just get the experience under my belt, get the 20 or 25 minutes under my belt. I'd played in a game, and to score was just what I needed, and I'm sure that's what he needed.
You see, I'm watching that tonight, and I'm almost wincing for him, and I'm sort of protecting my knee as I watch him play. Did you go through that? Did you feel all that yourself?
Yeah, I was. I mean, I was so conscious of the knee. You know, it's almost frightening, but you have to lose that, and I think that's only from playing games that you'll lose that. I mean, I was really conscious. I didn't really want to be tackled, and if there was tackles there, you would go into them. But the gaffer said to me, you know, don't do anything silly. Just take your time. you know, just do things simple, get in there, just get your crossing or get your shots in and get out the way.
I think what happens is if he's tackling face on and if you can see what's ahead of you, then I think you always are tentative when you first come back from your injury. What he's looking for, he's not looking for it, but what will test him is when somebody takes him from behind, Richards, or catches him kind of side on. When he doesn't quite see the tackle coming in, he'll be relaxed then. He's a little bit tense still in his tackling, but once that happens, once that initial tackle and somebody really whacks him and he'll jump up and think, hey, didn't feel a thing, great. And suddenly something mental will just change in him as well, and that'll be another step forward for him.
We'll hear from Paul Gascoigne very shortly. We've got more football coming up at 10 o'clock. Norway against Holland, a World Cup qualifier from England's group. And just looking down this Dutch team, they're all there. Ronald Koeman, Rijkaard, Van Basten, Bergkamp. That's at 10 o'clock tonight. But 3-0 this one finished, Lazio and Spurs. Let's have a look at the second goal.
He's involved again, isn't he? Wanted to do it again. This time, just look, patience, patience, patience. And then he just slides it through. Lovely little ball.
I think people may be looking for excuses tonight. I mean, Tottenham by no means were out to lose tonight. They were competing. They wanted to win tonight, regardless of, you know, Paul Gascoigne playing. So I don't think people should use that. It was a good test for him, and he came through with flying colours.
Yeah, it was a decent competitive game, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It wasn't a friendly in the way that you would term it, a normal friendly, Richard, where people stand back and allow it. I mean, it was noticeable. They picked a few young kids, Tottenham, and they would have been wanting to do well. And they were flying in the first half. I think one of them actually whacked Paul very early on.
I think I can hear a few people saying, oh, we'll want to see him in competitive games, say in the Serie A or whatever, or playing for England. But, you know, I don't think that's a problem for him. I think once he gets his match fitness, from the way he looked tonight, I can't see him having any problems.
Just being a little selfish and thinking ahead to the weekend, Gary Mabbott right in the centre of frame there. Super Sunday this weekend, Sheffield Wednesday against Spurs. It's great to see Gary Mabbott back too.
Yeah, I thought that Gary might be one to push his way into next Super Sunday up at Sheffield. And bringing him on tonight is another step back in Gary's fitness trail. And he'll be happy to get, what, half an hour under his belt, or 45 minutes tonight under his belt again. And he'll be looking forward to playing. He'll be looking forward to getting back in things.
Here's the third goal. Gazza had gone by this time. 66 minutes he lasted.
Well, they almost laughed.
Neri, the scorer.
A bit of tiredness creeping in Tottenham defence here. And just, you know, slack marking. They've all dropped back there, tired legs, and he's run through, slotted it in. They'll be disappointed with that goal. It's a sloppy goal to concede.
They played Monday night as well, though, John, remember?
Those tired legs there, Richard. Yes. Definitely.
It's always difficult games like this. Do you play him or don't you play him? I mean, they owe Paul Gascoigne a huge debt, and I think it was only right, after everything he's done for Tottenham Football Club, that they should honour him with this kind of game.
They would have liked the game as well, though, in a lot of respects. Right? There was quite a few that wouldn't have played tonight, that they would be looking for the weekend. But what it gave certainly Terry Venables a chance of doing was putting some of his young kids in against a real top-quality Italian side. And some of the kids will have gained enormous, valuable experience from that.
I mean, so there again, it's European football still. You know, we're playing against top Italian pros here, and it would have been a great experience, and we're looking to learn from that and see how far English football is from Italian football. And I don't think there's a great margin. I think the top teams, I think after Leeds losing to Stuttgart and other teams, I think it's interesting to sort of like people want to see the difference. I mean, we hear so much about their technique is so much better and they're much better players and the football's so much better there. But, you know, I don't think there is that gap, but they prepare so much better. They've got quality players there given. But I think tonight you had youngsters out there and they did themselves proud. But I think we're just a little bit tired towards the end, which is what we're always saying, too many games perhaps.
Well, in a moment or so, we'll have a leisurely look back at that match. We've got more football coming up at 10 o'clock, Norway against Holland from England's World Cup qualifying group. And in a moment or so, we'll hear from Paul Gascoigne, who tonight starred here on Sky Sports. His first game in 18 months it was. Back Lazio 3, Spurs 1 in our first football match tonight. Spurs 0. Let's get it right. The scorer of that first Lazio goal, Paul Gascoigne, and he's with Nick Collins.
Well, Paul, the obvious question, but how did it feel to be back on a football pitch?
Very good. I enjoyed every minute of it. You know, it's good to start off with a goal. Maybe, and I thought I could add another 2, but that fitness will come, and hopefully in time that I might be able to score another 2.
The script couldn't have been better. You'd been on, what, 10 minutes?
Yeah, 10 minutes, ball went wide and Thomas squared it back nicely. It's a shame it's against my old club, like. maybe get the own back when I end the return game.
A nice touch to go out there at the end and shake the hand of every player.
I couldn't understand what they were saying, but when he told us, I usually throw the top light, but I give it to the Mabsy and Paul Allen, you know. But it's just good to be back playing again. I think I went through the test. Now I just have to prove to myself that I'm good enough and fit enough to play on Sunday.
Confidence and stamina-wise, how did it feel out there?
No problem. I enjoyed it. Tottenham, a lot of young players, and I'll tell you what, they've done themselves proud. I'm pleased for Tottenham that they have so many good kids coming through. They worked hard, battled hard, which I expected, and they did not take it like a friendly, like I said they would.
How many times have you been running through your mind what it would be like coming back to football?
Lots of times, lots of times. I'm just glad I got this match over. Now I can relax a bit and enjoy my football.
Laurie McMenemy here, England's assistant manager.
Yeah, I had a few words with Laurie. Hopefully he might be a little bit impressed, I hope so. But like I say, I'm just taking my time now and just let my games come back in division. I need more games, maybe another 3 or 4, and I'll be ready. But that means, hopefully trying to play on Sunday.
Realistically, do you think you've got a chance of making Sunday?
Yeah, I hope so. I'll have words with off.
Been a brilliant night, though, for you, hasn't it?
Ciao.
Thank you.
Ciao, Gary Lineker. I hope your baby's doing well. Ciao.
Right, isn't it? Paul Gascoigne, Gaza is back. You saw it here on Sky Sports tonight, live and exclusive. Let's just check the match facts. Always interesting, I think, isn't it? Confirmation that I was right second time. Lazio 3, Spurs 0. Shots, 13 from Lazio, 9 from Spurs. On target, 6 apiece. Corners 1, Lazio shaded it. Free kicks conceded, Spurs shaded that. Offside, 8 times Lazio, 6 Spurs. And wouldn't expect any bookings. Tell you what, he's piling the pressure on Dino Zoff, isn't he? He wants to play on Sunday.
Well, I think he's got to want to play on Sunday, hasn't he? If you've been out for, as we keep saying, as long as Paul has been, he'll have now had questions answered tonight, which is an important mental milestone for him. No matter how many practice matches he will have played in it, he's at Lazio's training ground. They would still have been protected a little bit, Richard. But I honestly do feel that Tottenham didn't go out there to do him any favours other than give him a good, vigorous test of how his knee's going to stand up. So he'll have had a few of his own questions and doubts answered. He'll be a lot happier now than he was before the game started. And you're right, he wants to play Sunday. And he's going to, I'm sure he's in the dressing room right now saying to Dino Zoff, well, if we know Gaza, how about it then? I must be fit for Saturday. You've got to get me in that team.
Doesn't he look well? I've never seen Paul Gascoigne look as sharp facially as that.
Yeah, it is incredible. I mean, some of the pictures you've seen of him look as though he's got a lot of weight on him, but all credit to him, he has worked really hard, and I'm sure he's earned a lot of respect tonight from what people have seen. He must have spent a lot of hours, really looked after himself on his diet, on things he does outside the game, and really worked hard. And I'm sure, I can't really see Dino Zoff. I think they're going to have to look after him now. I think at best, maybe on the subs bench, really, they'll try and look after him a bit. And I think from his point of view, he doesn't want to rush. Now he's made that first step back. He's been out so long, I think he should take his time.
Again, harping back to your experience, how did you play? Did you want to get back as quickly as you could, or was the foot on the brake a bit?
Yeah, that's right. I mean, I had the physio always telling me, just take your time, relax, be patient. You always want to get out there, enthusiasm. You've been out so long, you want to get back in the thick of it. It's what you love doing and what you want to do. But, they're sort of saying, take your time. I had 2 halves. I had 20 minutes to start with, then I had a half, and just built it on from that. Then we went away to Sweden, had another halves, then a full game, then another one a few days later. And it was just, and then obviously I broke down with a hamstring, little niggles, and then you get yourself right. But I mean, I would just say, if I was Paul, really, just not to rush it, not rush into Sunday. At best, probably be sub. Have another couple of games, get yourself going before you throw yourself back in, because he's such an important character to English football, or to England, and probably to Lazio at the moment. There's no need to rush it. They've got good players. Let him take his time and come back when he's fully ready.
Between now and 10 o'clock, incidentally, we'll be taking a leisurely look back at Gaza's comeback. We've got all tonight's football results coming up, and at 10, Norway against Holland. That from England's World Cup qualifying group. This is the first real touch, I think, Andy. He'd been close to a free kick, hadn't he, shortly before this, but this was the first time he was involved tonight.
Yeah, it had one touch before this and suddenly burst into life. This was about the 5th or 6th minute, so I can imagine he must have been going through his mind, give me a kick of the ball, and he actually picks out a great cross. And really, Stropper should have done better from there.
Should have headed it back across the face of the goal there, I thought.
Yeah, but I mean, it was a fabulous touch. What he did show there, he showed a good turn of pace. He always wondered what it would be like early on in the game, but showed a good turn of pace. He's always been quick, Paul, and he doesn't seem to have lost that burst of pace that he had, and he certainly showed it there. But he'll have been happy there. He spent 5 minutes, and we could see it here, and people at home could see it. He spent 5 minutes chasing all over the park, and it's going to be interesting. At Tottenham, he used to always get the ball, didn't he? He used to always want to give him the ball. Now they've got so many good players at Lazio that they're all comfortable with the ball, Richard. He spent 5 minutes trying to get it, and they kept popping balls off everywhere but to Paul, and he's going, "What? Give me the ball, give me the ball." It was so funny to watch early on.
I could see him towards the end there, though, that he was demanding. He's that kind of character where he's saying, "Give me it," and in the end, they are giving it to him all the time.
You sense also he's getting a grasp of the language. There was a conversation or two, brief, but with the referee about the weather at one point, wasn't there?
Yeah, obviously they'll be...
He's getting the language, isn't he? He said "seat" and "chow" at least 2 or 3 times tonight, so he must be getting there.
Here's the goal again. Let's have a look at it. 10 minutes played, Paul Gascoigne scored for Lazio. What a comeback this was.
We'll see him deep in midfield there, just ambles in. No one really picking up, just ghosting in the back. The lovely ball played through there. I think the guy on the ball does well here. Could have smashed it across the face. Defender just dinks it back. And then he just picks his spot, knocks it in, and there he goes.
And he's off.
It must be the best feeling he's ever had in his career.
Did he think about which foot he was striking that with?
Yeah.
No, he wouldn't have done that. Would just been in the heat of the game, and you know, he just steps up to it.
No,
his heart would have been in his mouth on that strike. He's thinking, "Hey, I'm going to score here." He would have been, you know, butterflies in his stomach, and when he scored, the relief would have been there. I'm back. You know, he'll see the headlines tomorrow. He's that type of character. He loves it. He wants to go to the crowd who've waited so long for him. And there he's delivering the goods. This is what they paid for.
Just that little jump that we caught a glimpse of there to check out waiting for the ball, wasn't there? So that he wasn't in too soon.
Yeah, I mean,
it was just enthusiasm. I think he was like excited about getting the ball and the thought of scoring. That's why the little jump, I would have thought.
I mean, he's lost none of his ability. I said before the game started that I would be looking at mainly his fitness, mainly the way he was moving across the pitch, and not paying too much attention to his performance. I thought it might be a bit premature, but Paul has certainly stunned me, and at the end of the day, if he made a mistake, you're thinking, well, why has he passed a bad ball there? He shouldn't be doing that. I mean, and that was the level, the high level of consistency that he showed in his display throughout the whole of the game.
What about that run at the end of the first half, when he showed all that we know that Gazza can do?
I think this is just typical Gascoigne. You know, I was sort of saying before, it'll take him a while to get back to where he was, but I mean, obviously, his performance tonight, especially this run, I mean, a bit more fitness, I mean, a bit more upper body strength in the legs. He would have probably got ahead of the guy or got himself a penalty there, because he was definitely being held back. I mean, he's obviously very frustrated, hasn't lost any of that raw enthusiasm for the game, wanting to get in there.
It's funny because it's interesting to see these two teammates there, Richard, talking, because after he makes a run, he has a little go at the Tottenham defender. We saw it on the match film. He did have a little go at the Tottenham defender who tackles him. I think it was Tuttle who gets tangled up with him. And I think he's the two Lazio players in the picture there, they saw him have a little go. And I think they were just saying to him, you know, just calm down, because they know the type of character that Paul is and how he can explode at any time. And certainly up till now has been that type of character. And it's good to see that his own teammates are saying, you know, hey, yeah, no problem, just settle down, because that'll be important for him when he is playing in the Town League, because he'll get baited, he'll be tested by a lot of tough characters in Serie A. And his fellow players are going to have a big job keeping him in
Something else he's got to be wary of. We read the reports, didn't we, when he was demanding to be involved in practice matches about a month back. First one he played in, he did get a little niggle, a strain of some sort. Is that likely to happen now? And then how is he going to react to that mentally, do you think?
Yeah, I think he's been out so long. I think the problem is when you play games, there's no other substitute for playing games. You do things in a game you wouldn't do in training, or set pieces, or set plays 5-a-side. So I think he's going to have problems like myself. I had a little hamstring, and I've seen other players that have been out injuries. They've had little niggles, and I think he's probably likely going to get that, especially at that level. So he's going to have to be patient and just make sure he does his stretches properly. But there again, their setup is so good. You know, they're going to make sure he gets the right stretches. He's going to make sure he goes through the right routine to warm his knee up, to get everything right before he goes out there and before he trains. And so really, I think that's not really a problem. I think once they're aware of what he needs to do, he won't have any problems, hopefully. And he can just go. I think fitness is another thing. Before you're fully fit, you can get little knocks, little strains, where you don't quite get into a tackle, you don't quite get into a header and stuff like that. So I think once he gets match fit, he should be okay. But I'm really impressed. I think really, you know, he looks excellent.
The key is match fit though, Richard, honestly. There's a big difference if you're a professional footballer and being physically fit. It sounds crazy, but John knows, I know, you can train and train and train for months and months and months. You go and play a game of football, I guarantee you're absolutely shattered within 20 minutes. There is a big difference between genuine fitness and actually getting match fit.
OK, still to come all tonight's football results. More football at 10 o'clock. Remember, Norway against Holland, but Gaza is back, and in some style. We saw it here tonight, live and exclusive on Sky Sports. Welcome back. More football at 10 o'clock. Norway against Holland, and in a moment or so, all tonight's football results. But we're not finished with Paul Gascoigne yet. Scored one, made one, Andy.
Yeah, I mean, he's had a great contribution tonight, and it shows you how much he wanted to impress, because he said he felt he should have scored another couple. And we're all looking for him to play passes, aren't we? But this shows that he's lost none of his composure, his vision. Look, draws people in, 3 players round him. I mean, that looks easy, but you have to have the ability to spot passes like that. And once that's it. But then Stropper comes in at the back post and just nicks it in.
66 minutes, and that was it, John.
Yeah, I think it's a wise decision. I mean, Dino's off, obviously doesn't want to give him too much. His legs would have been tired there. He's done enough, you know. He'll be pleased with that. That's all he needed to do. He's done everything, more than what he should have done. I scored one, set one up. He's come off there. He'll be delighted. I'll be pleased tonight. Probably have a Newcastle brown ale to celebrate tonight.
Do they sell that in Rome?
He'll be allowed, I think.
Well, they sell that.
Well, they said they were going to import it when he was coming over. All the fans.
Spurs will have taken some for sure, won't they? So, verdict then. We're pleased.
I mean, I think everyone's got to be pleased to see him back for English football and for him. He's worked tremendously hard, and I think if he carries on just to be patient and keep, you know, going along the track he is, I think he'll be fine. He's obviously just got to hold back a little bit. He'll chomping at the bit at the moment to say, I want to play something, I want to play this, I want to play that. You know, but Dino's off. He's got experienced people around him, people who know what they're doing. Just hold him in check and just bring him through at the right time. You know, he'll probably obviously be saying he wants to play for England against Norway, and then that'll be down to Graham Taylor to obviously decide whether he will, but he'll be a big boost to the squad if he's actually in the squad and just with the lads, because he's that kind of character. People want him around. He sort of peps you up and he keeps you laughing and keeps you smiling, takes the pressure off.
Here's the third goal. At Spurs, of course, at Sheffield Wednesday on Sunday, Super Sunday.
I mean, this just tied it up for them. I mean, it's just gone back a little bit on what John said. I mean, about Paul, he would have been pleased then. We would have all been pleased, I think, about him playing anyway, regardless of his performance. I'm just amazed, as I said, Richard, at the level of his performance. I mean, the way he was involved continually in the game, the amount of touches he had on the ball was quite phenomenal for only being on 66 minutes. An amazing amount of touches on the ball. And I think, rather than just pleased, everyone should be astounded at his performance. Fabulous stuff.
Immense talent, I mean, but that's just Gascoigne all over. I mean, just the natural enthusiasm took him into the game. And I can't believe, you know, to start with, I was watching him, you know, he was always shaping up for the ball, trying to get it in there with his back towards the defender, and they weren't giving it to him, but come the second half, they were giving everything to him. He was almost dominating, give it to me, you know, I'm back, I want to play, giving little give and goes, getting in there. You know, he's getting back to his old self, and, you know, it's just lovely to see him, but I think the important thing was, you know, he rolled a couple of challenges, he was twisting and turning, and that was, you know, that's the most important thing that, you know, and as you say, it's not how he feels during the game, it's how he feels after, you know, he'll sit down now and they'll say, how's the knee? And it's how that feels then will be the true test, and obviously we're not quite sure, but from what we see, it's great.
From what we see, we're very pleased. It was a pleasure to be part of it. Paul Gascoigne is back. Coming next, all tonight's football results, but well done, Gaza. Welcome back. Big football night, aside from the fact that Gaza's back, and delighted we are about that. Scored in a 3-0 win for Lazio against Tottenham. Here are all the other results. League Cup, second round, first leg games these. Blackpool 0, Portsmouth 4, Brighton 1, Manchester United 1, Coventry 2, Scarborough 0. How about that? Southampton held at Gillingham. Huddersfield 1, Blackburn 1. Who scored for Blackburn? Correct, Alan Shearer. Leicester City 2, Peterborough 0. On we go. Luton Town 2, Plymouth Argyle 2. How about Manchester City, held at home by Bristol Rovers? Newcastle 0, Middlesbrough 0. That's the first time this season that Newcastle haven't won. 100% up until tonight. Oxford United 1, Aston Villa 2. Queen's Park Rangers 2, Grimsby Town 1. Rotherham 1, Everton 0. John Solarco will be interested to hear that Mark Bright scored for Sheffield Wednesday in a 3-0 win. Southend 1, Derby County 0. Little or nothing is going right for Derby right now. Ian Benjamin, the scorer for Southend, after 82 minutes. Stockport 2, Nottingham Forest 3. Couple for Kevin Francis there for Stockport. Bannister, Clough and Orlickson for Nottingham Forest. Torquay 0, Swindon 6. Walsall 0, Chelsea 3. West Ham 0, Crewe 0. Well, Mark Bright, first of all, you'll be pleased to see was on the score sheet tonight.
Yeah, good goal for him. Nice to get off the mark. I think he'd be under a bit of pressure when you move for a lot of money. And I'm sure that will give him a lot of confidence.
Is he enjoying it up there?
Yeah, I'm not sure how he's settling in. I think he prefers London, but it's a great move for him, so he'll be happy up there, I'm sure.
One more result, an important one as well. In Scotland, Skull Cup semi-final, Celtic 0, Aberdeen 1. Ian Jess, as you can see, in the 40th minute. So it's Aberdeen against Rangers in the final.
Big result for Aberdeen, Richard, really is. Celtic will be disappointed with Rangers waiting on the winners. They'd have wanted to get there, but it's uncanny in the Skull Cup final how often in recent years that Rangers have played Aberdeen. Unbelievable, and they've always produced a good game.
Right, if you've just come in and missed it, we'll show you how Paul Gascoigne got on a little later in the programme. Scored in a 3-0 for Lazio tonight against Tottenham. We'll also hear from him later in the programme as well. But right now, it's Norway against Holland, World Cup qualifier from England's group. Let's just check the teams. Norway, you'll recall, put 10 past San Marino a little earlier this month. It's basically that side, but they're missing 2. Lennartson is out injured, and Flo, he is on the substitutes bench. The 2 coming in, Bjornby wearing 5, and Ingebrigtsen wearing 8. And the Dutch, no Hullet. We've read all about his personal problems over the last 2 or 3 days, but most of the big names you'd expect to see are there. Ronald Koeman, Rijkaard, Van Basten and Bergkamp. In the absence of Hullet, Van Basten captaining that side tonight. Let's have a look at it. The match commentator is Ian Dark.
So it's Holland who get us underway here, wearing a chain strip of white with orange shorts. And there's been some anxiety, I can tell you, in the Dutch camp over this very awkward fixture for them, away to the ever-improving Norwegians. No Ruud Hullet for them tonight, and Marco van Basten standing as the captain. Early touch for Dennis Bergkamp there on the right-hand side. The Norwegians, remember, 10-0 winners over San Marino. Referee tonight is Demi Hall from France. Knocked long by Van Basten. Danny Blind, the Ajax defender. Micklin with a nice turn. He does look a class act. Typical possession football by Holland, and indeed that'll be no surprise to the Norwegian coach Egil Olsen, Drillo as he's known, because he reckons that Norway might only have 4 scoring chances all night. He expects Holland to have most of the possession, and that's the planning that they've certainly made for this game. Nielsen knocking this one long. Koeman is there. Bjørneby over on that far side. He's been restored to the side tonight. Stig Bjørneby plays for Rosenborg, one of the top Norwegian sides. Early pressure from Norway, and is that going to be a penalty kick? Crowd screaming for it, and it's been given as well. Jakobsen, the man brought down by Danny Blind. Now here it is again. Judge for yourself. He looked to play the ball, to be honest.
going to tell you any more about it, but it looked, I must say, a harsh one from the French referee. But it means that Norway, in the 9th minute here, had the chance to take a vital lead. It's going to be Kjetil Rekdal, the Belgian-based player, who will take it. What a test for Stanley Menzo, the Dutch keeper. Rekdal's penalty. 1-0 Norway. And their success story goes on. Holland in trouble. No mistake at all from Rekdal. Menzo going the wrong way. Well, it took him 14 internationals to get off the mark, Rekdal, in the goal-scoring scapes for Norway, but he got 2 in the last match against San Marino, and he was Mr. Cool from the penalty spot there. So what can Holland come back with? And they've got a chance here, and a goal! The equaliser straight away from Dennis Bergkamp, and that has silenced them in this Ullevål Stadium. Classic sucker punch, really. The Norwegians still mentally celebrating their goal. Bergkamp taking it inside Roger Nielsen, and a precision finish. He is such an adroit goal scorer. Dennis Bergkamp now, that's his 12th goal in 19 internationals. And remember too, he was the joint leading goal scorer in the European Championships with 3 or 4 others. 3 goals in that tournament. Dennis Bergkamp, the man who twice turned down Real Madrid to stay with Ajax. He doesn't feel yet he's ready to go and settle in a big foreign city. Unlike Mr. Gascoigne, of course. Norway won, Holland won. The 2 goals arriving within seconds. Van Basten. Now here's Rijkaard. De Boer. Rob Vichka. De Boer, the 22-year-old Ajax defender. And is Bergkamp onside here? He is not. Mr. Hall, or Monsieur Hall, as I should call him, has already put his name up in lights tonight with that decision to give the Norwegians a penalty. I'm not so sure whether he would have given it had he had the benefit, as we did, of the replay. All academic now. De Boer gives the ball away. Ingebrigtsen. Jakobsen. Ingebrigtsen again. Now Sørloth. Holland getting everybody back behind the ball and inviting the Norwegians to find the wit and invention to bring them down. And that is Sonny Soløy of Ajax, who's going to be penalised for that challenge. And the Norwegians might wish in this situation they had a Stuart Pearce to fend them with the left foot. A bit theatrical, but no question about the foul. Soløy, the man who is the culprit for it. And they've got Nielsen there. And they've also got Bjørneby, who has got a very sweet left foot. he might be able to pen one. It's Nielsen who hits it in the end, only into the wall. And nobody lurking on the far post. Interesting thing about this Dutch side tonight is that all 11 are either past or present players of Ajax. And not one PSV Eindhoven player in the starting lineup. Koeman with a typically perceptive long ball. Bergkamp trying to pick up Rijkaard's run. It was cut out by Bratzett. Norwegians, of course, who come to Wembley next month. Before that, they have their away game with San Marino. That should be more points for them. It's a real test of just how good the Norwegians are. Van Schip. Corner for Holland. Oh, and a fine effort coming in there from Jan Wouters. Wouters, who's now with Bayern Munich. Van Schip. Bjerneby, who hugged that left-hand touchline. Oh, look at this problem here for Torsvet. And is he going to be penalised for that? The Dutch are saying that was from a pass back and he shouldn't have handled. So there was a contentious issue. But Erik Torsvet has been caught out before like that this season for Tottenham. Back pass rule still causing its problems. Confusion reigns. Siloy. And it's good to see him back in the Dutch side. He's had all sorts of injury problems and it did look as if his international career might be over. Bratzett winning that one in the air. And then Pedersen completing the clearance. De Boer did well there. So much experience in this Dutch side. And that's what the Norwegians are up against. Mikkelsen winning it very well. Play on. Rob Vichka of Feyenoord. The only Feyenoord player in the starting lineup. These two sides have met twice before in the World Cup. In the 1974 qualifying tournament, the Holland of Cruyff, Neeskens and Krol thrashed Norway 9-0 in Rotterdam and won 2-1 here in Oslo, rather luckily on that occasion, as I recall. Haller and De Boer, bit of pushing and shoving, whistle's gone. Haller penalised, crowd don't like it, but the referee does. Crowd absolutely enthralled by the drama and magic of the World Cup. sense here that you're watching a very, very significant match. Rob Vichka, under pressure from Haller. Still Vichka. Nice control from him. Vichka, who scored against Germany in the European Championships. Here he is. 25-year-old player who had a spell with Saint-Étienne in France before returning to Holland. Frank Rijkaard, cap number 58 for him tonight. Tore Pedersen, who plays his football with Gothenburg in Sweden. Pretty competitive group, of course, this one that England find themselves in, with these two sides. Not to mention Poland and Turkey, of course, who you wouldn't really expect to figure, but you never know. As managers never tire of reminding us, the gap is closing between the so-called big guns and the smaller nations these days. Now Rijkaard's made a nice run through here. Bergkamp really does know where the goal is, doesn't he? That was an interesting looking turn. Norway this time clear their lines, but Bergkamp so menacing, the young Dutchman. Signs here that Holland are beginning to move into their stride. Vichka's cross and a free header for Marco van Basten. A bit lucky to get away with that. Van Basten in acres of space. Who was marking him? Nicely measured cross too by Vichka. Marco van Basten has 24 goals so far in his Holland career, and this is his 57th cap tonight. Good strike rate. But interestingly, none for Van Basten at the European Championships, and none at the last World Cup as well. Can do no wrong for Milan, it seems, though. Enzo can't handle that. Here's Bergkamp. Vichka. Oh, lovely ball. Chance for Rijkaard here. The angle is too narrow. Good football that, though, from Holland. The reason that Norway, by the way, are playing so many World Cup qualifying games early is that winter is going to set in a serious way in Scandinavia pretty shortly now, and the football season will close down. So by the time they get to Wembley next month, they'll be playing their 4th World Cup qualifier. The 10-0 win over San Marino, this one, San Marino away, and then England. And of course it'll be England's first. Pedersen heading this one long. Sørloth nodding it down, but only to Vichka. Miklen. Haller in the race for it with De Boer, and, well, he could have handled that, Menzo, because it was a headed back pass. So what was the keeper thinking about? A real moment of madness in that Dutch defence, and Rijkaard is going to be booked. He said, that's my first offence. Give me a break, ref. Roger Nielsen. Maybe Norway can come up with something with Ingebrigtsen. No. Bergkamp. Good pace. He's prepared to take on Bratzett. Bratzett gets an important foot in. This fellow is almost a kind of Bobby Charlton figure in Norway, Bratzett. Little Jakobsen. Ingebrigtsen's got a bit of room. He's given it away though to Vanskin. Olsen, the Norwegian coach, he's got a very good record. They've only lost 4 out of 19 games since he took command. Out by Miklen. Jakobsen. Sørloth. Jakobsen again. This is good football from the Norwegians. Incident off the ball as well. Breaks free away by De Boer. But Gunnar Halle was pulled down there off the ball and the referee missed it completely. First half injury time. Norway 1, Holland 1. Frank de Boer, now Vitschke down the line, but he's not going to find Rijkaard like that. Half-time whistle goes here. A goal after 9 minutes. Rekdal a penalty for Norway, and then within seconds Dennis Bergkamp with an instant equaliser for Holland. Half-time is Norway 1, Holland 1.
And this match, remember, crucial in England's World Cup qualifying group, bearing in mind that Norway opened up by putting 10 past San Marino. 1-1 at half-time here, and from what we've seen, that's about right too.
Yeah, they're looking quality. You know, they're causing the Dutch a lot of problems. You know, I think they're missing Rullit a little bit. They need to get a bit of width, but Bergkamp's superb finish. But I think Norway are going to cause the Dutch a lot of problems. But I think from England's point of view, I think we'd like to see a draw here.
They would have liked to have stayed in front a little bit longer, wouldn't they?
Oh, they've committed the cardinal sin of losing a goal within a couple of minutes of taking the lead. I didn't think, Ian mentioned the penalty. He thought there was no contact and he played the ball. I didn't think Blint got the ball. It looks there a bit dodgy. I don't think he had a tackle, but I think Jakobsen goes in looking for a penalty. I don't think he was convinced he was going to get a shot and goal. He went in looking for it. Blint's tackled him from the wrong side, and I think the referee, I don't know his position, but he had no doubt in his mind that it was a penalty.
And it was put away comfortably enough by Rekdal.
It's a good pen. Sent the keeper the wrong way.
Pressure pen as well.
Oh.
But this is the time when you want to tighten everything up and sit on your lead, isn't it?
Norway would be ecstatic about being 1 up. I don't think they actually felt they could beat the Dutch tonight, and they've gone 1 up, and they probably can't believe it. But now, I mean, look at this. But this is Dennis Bergkamp for you. Look, his one touch is brilliant. It's so good that Nielsen just loses his footing. And what about that for quality finishing, eh?
That is pure class, the touch and the finish. I don't think you get a better centre forward at the moment anywhere in the world. Superb.
OK, still to come in this programme, we'll be having a little leisurely look back at Gazza's comeback tonight. He scored in a 3-0 win for Lazio over Tottenham, and the second half of this one, Norway against Holland, is coming next.
Tomorrow night on Sky. At 6, Sky Sports enters the ring for another bruising bout of prime-time wrestling. Chris fights back.
I'm going to sue the Bromleys.
At 6:30 on Sky One's E Street. At 8:15, the all-action Sunset Beat premieres on the Movie Channel.
Partners or what?
The chilling Amityville horror, The Evil Escapes, is at 10.
Hello?
On Sky Movies Plus. That's tomorrow night on Sky.
Starting now in Best Magazine, Best Quest. Over £200,000 of prizes. Win cars, camcorders, diamonds, holidays. Get Best with your free game card now.
Let me wrap you in my warm and tender love. Let me wrap you in my
Le Jardin.
tender love.
Welcome to a city that stretches as far as the eye can see, where no one has ever been stopped for speeding, where a real British breakfast is served hundreds of times a day, and people still take tea in the afternoon. Welcome to a city where the office is in the country, and you're seldom far from a public telephone. Welcome to a city where every year millions of visitors are greeted with a friendly punch by gentlemen who still wear hats. Welcome to Intercity.
Smokey has his favourites. His toys. His playmate. Me and his favourite Whiskers varieties. Now there's even more from Whiskers. New select cuts. Individual meaty pieces. Succulent, juicy and delicious. Another of Smokey's favourites. New Whiskers select cuts.
Get down!
I didn't make this happen. He did.
The suspense. We think he's left the country. The excitement.
I will destroy you.
The mystery.
Sean Miller.
He's never gonna let us go, is he?
In the season's most explosive event.
Come on!
Harrison Ford, Patriot Games.
Remind you of anybody's face?
Oh, that's cruel.
Hey, where is Harold anyway? I haven't seen him all week. Maybe his face exploded.
Why doesn't somebody tell him?
Like what? You should do something about your zits? Maybe like slip him some Clearasil. He's back.
Harold?
Someone must have told him.
Fewer spots in just 5 days.
Spots like to come out at night. They don't like Clearasil Night Clear. So before you say night-night, say night clear.
This little tin is full of 98% pure potato. So is this little tin.
For Nash, get smash.
The best snooker on Sky Sports. The world's top players compete in the Scottish Masters. Tonight at 11.
Welcome back. 3-0. Lazio beat Spurs tonight. Paul Gascoigne got the first after just 10 minutes. If you missed any of it, we'll show you one more time at the end of the programme and hear from Paul. But back to this World Cup qualifier now. Norway won, Holland won at half-time. Here's Ian Dark.
Norway in their red kit get us underway at the start of the second half. Now attacking the goal to your left. 1-1 at half-time in this splendid 940-year-old city with its 40 islands and fjords and parks and lakes. But with summer now most definitely over. It's quite cool in Oslo tonight. Holland so far might be reasonably pleased with their work. It could have gone a lot worse for them, having given away that early penalty. Converted by Rekdal. They came back with the instant riposte from Dennis Bergkamp. His 12th international goal and only 19 internationals. Björneby's free kick. Referee spotted some pushing and shoving on that far side. Gunnar Haller of Oldham Athletic, the culprit. He might have been playing, I guess, at Exeter in the Coca-Cola Cup last night, but Norway took preference. As indeed it should do. In any country, the